The following program is a fan-made review and reaction show. It is in no way affiliated with the movie trivia Schmoedown or Skybound Entertainment.
Hey, Outlaw Nation, how's it going? I'm Sean Barreto. I'm one of John's producers on the channel. Hope you guys are doing okay. Welcome to the Ultimate Schmoedown Show, which has just been moved to the Outlaw Nation channel. So it's kind of a big deal. John has allowed us to kind of be on his channel. So just right off the bat, one of the things I just want to get out there is that even though we're on John Roca's channel, he is not producing the show. All of the thoughts on the show are our own. He's just kind of chilling out, relaxing on a weekend, so he allowed us to move our show onto his network. So just want to get that out there. He is not producing the show. All of our thoughts are our own. He's just chilling. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the Ultimate Schmoedown team. Three-fourths of it anyway. One of the hosts are not able to be here today, but I would like to introduce the team. Starting
What's
with
up?
Colin.
How's it going, bud?
Good. Boggs.
Yo, what's happening, everyone? Good to be here. Nice to make it happen finally. Let's have fun, guys.
And Sue.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Outlaw Nation. Kisses for everyone. Besitos.
So, just a little housekeeping. So, all the $10 and up Outlaw Nation patrons, we will at halfway through the show start letting you guys come in. You can ask our host and our guest some questions. So the link will be put in the Discord. Depending upon how many people want to come in, we also might put it in the live chat. So just fans can come in as well. So we'll just play it by ear. Also, we're going to have a little... so the Super Chats are open, guys. If you have any... You want to ask our guest or our host any questions, the Super Chats are open. So please leave a comment and support the show. And I will drop myself out. I'll come back a little bit later. But you guys have fun.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go. It's the Ultimate Schmoedown Show here on the Outlaw Nation, and we are so excited to be here. I'm one of your hosts, Colin, as Sean introduced us. If you're coming from the other channel, woo! It was a fun, we started in June. It was like 7 months over there, and now we decided to upgrade to the penthouse, and I wouldn't want to be here with anyone else than Boggs and Soul. Boggs, how are you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm very good. Big day for us. You know, we've been doing this for a few months now, and we finally got the keys to the car, the keys to the Ferrari. So, shout out to John, obviously, for doing this. You know, for me, what other Schmoedown kind of personality or like person would do this in the kind of space that we're in? Like, we'll give these keys to his business in effect to people to appear on his show. So shout out to John. But obviously epic events we had last night, and I can't wait to break it down with you guys and our guests.
And of course, it's my favorite person that if the article was a Florida woman popped up on it, it is Soul. How are you, Soul?
Good, and it shows you that not everything bad comes out of Florida. I'm so excited to be here on the Outlaw Nation. This is such a great move for all of us. I wouldn't want to be here talking Schmoedown with anyone else. We do miss John Barr, but he's going to bring in his thoughts a little bit later today. He will be on next week and going forward. So if you're missing him right now, we are too.
We miss that guy that I believe, Boggs, how did John Roca describe him?
Spindly kid with big ears, I believe it was.
Yeah. Okay. Here we are. Look, we all kind of line up. Well, now, hello, Soul.
Boggs is
How are
me
you
and I'm
doing today,
Boggs.
Soul? There we go. Now we're in. Now we can kick off this show. Folks, we wouldn't come on the Outlaw Nation unless we were bearing gifts. We wouldn't just come here and give you these three beautiful faces, which I love, which would be sufficient. But no. We're going to bring in a special guest later in the show, someone who has immense control over everything you see when you watch the Ultimate Schmo, when you watch the Schmoedown in general. See, look at me, already getting caught up in the branding. But folks, we had some big breaking news first to get in right off the bat, hot off the press. Boggs, it's announced the minor leagues, the first class league, being run by the boat. Doot doot. Brad Gilmore, what are your first thoughts, Boggs, hearing that we have a place for all these people who didn't get drafted? Now it's like, don't got to sit around. Now you can actually keep studying and then have a place to prove your worth.
Yeah, so it's about time. That's what I thought. It's about time. Shout out to Level 2 Training in the chat who wants to talk of football. The British guy. Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere. I'd love that opportunity, especially on this channel. But anyway, back to the Schmoedown. So yeah, obviously for anyone who kind of didn't make the draft or anyone that kind of didn't get the call up, that is an opportunity there to play in a minor league, in effect, for the to build your name, to get your reputation, to get some game time under your belt. And that, yeah, so interesting development. But yeah, I'm looking forward for kind of more details to come out as well. Like, how do you apply? Do people need to put in an addition tape? So people, they're going to reach out. How many people? Because I see a lot of these questions are being asked on the Twitter threads and stuff. They're not being answered yet. So yes, we're waiting on the for some updates.
I know we already had some friends of the show that we met through the Smash-a-thon a couple months ago. Andres Gallegos, Mr. Gallegos out there, coming out and saying he had them eyeballs on the tweet, saying he's looking at it. So you already got some competitors really anxious to get in and bout. And I know Christian was like maybe March or April. Soul, I know you'd probably be like, hey, March, sounds good. Give us more.
It's always a good time when you have more Schmoedown. And one thing that we've talked about in the past is the rookies that were coming in, a lot of them didn't have game tape. Now they have the possibility to have game tape to be better, to get some of those nerves out by playing in a minor league, even though it is going to be a different step from the minor league to the major leagues, I guess, is as you would call it. So I think it's going to be a good for all of these players that don't have a chance yet in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. We just now are seeing the future of the Schmoedown. These are possible next year rookies, the following year rookies, and we might see a future rookie of the year, a future belt holder. So I'm so excited for these minor leagues, and yeah, it's about time, just like Bog said.
And yippee-ki-yay, Outlaw Nation. Can't wait for the new season of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Absolutely, Alan. This last night was just absolutely insane. Starting off with this, I immediately go, well, that's a lot more for us to cover. That's a lot. Are there going to be like first class league shows? Are we going to have to do, maybe we just do a report a week? Maybe just do like, who knows? We'll have to figure it out. There's a whole new world to crack open. Exactly like we're doing here. The draft was one of the craziest things I'd seen. That was heart pounding. I mean, that 90 seconds for a pick on something like this when you're trying to build out. Boggs, my heart was a thumping the entire time. How about you?
Yeah, big time. Twists and turns, unpredictable things happening, weird picks, some shocks. But yeah, just my overall thoughts is, so I want to say two things about this. Okay, number one, I got to give a shout out to the two British people that were in the draft. So one of them, obviously, was a guest on our show a couple of weeks ago. His name was David Campbell. He didn't make the list, so I've got to give a shout out to him. I've been speaking to him for the last couple of months. He's been on every after show. He goes on live for like a 15-minute interview at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. He put his absolute graft in. Didn't work out. They didn't want to take, maybe potentially they didn't want to take the gamble on a British person, but someone did. Thankfully, the Finstock exchanged it, and they went for Kim Taylor Foster. So shout out for her. I have been speaking to her a little bit. She works at Fandom UK, so I'm very, very pleased to see and hear a UK person get represented. So yes, I just want to give a shout out for that. It was an important thing. And second, I need to give another shout out. So I saw a post on Twitter from Schmoes of the North, I believe they're called, and they were posting. It was really kind of late my time, so after the draft and everything, it's like, again, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. I clicked the link, and I think it was something to do with Roker, so I clicked it, and yeah, so they were just kind of finishing the show, and they were plugging their stuff, and then all of a sudden I heard they were talking about Soul. Like, Soul's a friend of ours, and please check out the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. And I was like, oh, okay, that was really nice. That was really cool. I like a random plug there. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, we've got a guest. And then Roker pops in and kind of talks about the Finstock exchange draft. And these guys were really they had the butterflies basically. Because Roker, coming in with his electricity, and it was a pure surprise, and it was nice to see because he's done that for us before on other shows. So definitely respect that. And there was a lady on there I don't know, never seen her before, and she was so nervous, and she was quivering, and she was like, "Oh my god, you're my favorite Schmo," and she said something like, I don't remember the exact quote. It was something about empowering, like, you empower me. And like that, and I thought, oh, it was the sweetest thing ever. I just clicked it like that, and I saw this amazing emotional moment from the Smokes of the North guys. So absolutely shout out to them. Thanks for plugging the show and that kind of moment that I just saw out the blue. So if anyone wants a good Roker moment, check that out. That was really fun.
Ooh, Roker can come in and just punch somebody in the face, kind of like he did last week to me, and I kind of deserved it. Yeah. So Saul, coming over to you. I mean, this draft, you talk about swag. Talk about drama. There was tons of drama when it comes to you. I know you're take your claim to fame. You are swag, drip, through and through. That is your squad. Like that, there was just drama around it, around the Swag Nation, though.
Yeah, we had Laura Kelly being picked over Ace beforehand, although thankfully Ace is staying in Swag Squad. I'm so happy that we were able to pick him up later. No one else brought him back. But if you're following Ace on Twitter, he's been posting some Michael Jordan gifs, and then I took that personally. So I think this year he's going to come even with more fire, more power coming in. This is going to be another year of Ace. I just know it. I feel it in my heart. I was one of the only ones that believed in him last year. I was like, he's going to win this tournament. And no one believed me. And I was right. Just like I was also right about Peggy Gubbins. I was like, she's going to be with Kate. Go Chicago native. Look, I was right again. So if you want to have some good predictions over here, you got to come to Soul, because Soul's got the right predictions.
Hey, Soul don't lie. You know what else don't lie? The edits of these wonderful, wonderful promos that we get week after week. And we got another banger of one yesterday. The War song. Oh, I'm getting all riled up, like I'm about to go play a football game or something. I want to play right now, but it was just the draft. It was all this adrenaline ready to go. But I can get it out now, because we got somebody who is vital to the production of the movie Trivia Schmoedown, and we are honored. We had him on the former channel. We are honored to have him here on the inaugural show on the Outlaw Nation. Folks, welcome on to the show, the editor of the movie Trivia Schmoedown, Mr. NerdChronic. Bring him on. Welcome to the show, sir. How's it going?
Good. Like I said, crazy day yesterday, so I was trying to soak it all in. Obviously, when that stuff happens, there's a lot for me to get in order, trying to make sure, like, right now, because I've been paying attention to the rookies, for the last month or so, doing with the rounds on the after shows and everything. But now that we have the confirmed roster of new people, now it's time to start putting my ducks in a row, so I know how to manage all this new talent that we're going to be needing for the show.
Absolutely. And so, folks, this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to run through the draft kind of faction by faction. Pick by pick just gets kind of tedious. Faction by faction. In our little group chat that we have, we did kind of a faction draft of who we wanted before the draft. So kind of interesting to be able to sit there and root for each individual team that we had. So as it goes, I have the Dungeon, the Usual Suspects, and Corruption. Boggs, who do you have?
Finstock Exchange, the Den, and Rockstars.
Oh, the Stars, sir. The Stars.
Stars.
The Stars.
Yes, sir.
So it's like when the Ducks were no longer the Mighty Ducks, but you know what happened when the Ducks took away the Mighty? They won a Stanley Cup the next season. And that's what happened. And the same thing happened to the Devil Rays in the Major League Baseball. When they took away the Devil out of the Devil Rays, they won a World Series. Sol knows all about that down in South Florida. Who you got? So you got the other two.
I have swag and I have the quirky mercs.
All right, well, I got the number 1 pick, so I guess I should bat first. What a night for the dungeon. Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. This was unprecedented stuff for Kaiser to be able to come in here and make a pick that is going to shape the entire course of the season. And not only that, but allowing all of us, all of these schmoes heads out here in Schmoeville, shout out Schmoeville, he goes out and gets Mara Kanopik and lets all these people think, oh, he just picked an IG player. Kaiser's doing it again, folks. Friend of the show, John Kaiser, doing it again. But no, comes out after the draft with breaking news that Mara is going to be competing in the Star Wars division as well. I am just, that just floors me. I cannot wait. I think Mara is a spectacular talent, not just knowledge, but has a brain that can retain. And that's something very important that we talk about on the show is pure skill. And I think she is a player that you can put her in any division, give her time to train, and she will succeed. And putting her in the dungeon with all of these great minds and to be able to work off of Smets, of course, going through everything he's going through, but still contributing, having everyone on here. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Adam Witt's going to be a great mind for her also to compete with. This whole draft just set up perfectly for Kaiser. And then getting Molly Damon to be that kind of Star Wars 1 player. If you're looking at like your fantasy football roster, you got a quarterback and then you got an RB1 and RB2. To have a Star Wars 1 and 2 of Molly and Mara is unbelievable. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Your initial thoughts of the exchange. And to me, it just sticks out that Star Wars and Chris Jericho.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest surprises is that Mara Kanopik is going to be in the Star Wars division. It's such exciting news. I'm so excited for it. I need more Brown Dwarf Star in my life, so the fact that we're not going to see her in 2 divisions, it's going to be great. I love it so much. And then I like the pickup of Chris Jericho. I know that Roxy is saying that Jericho will only play for Roxy. I have a feeling that if he's going to play for any other manager, it's going to be John Kaiser. Kaiser is the one that is going to bring out some of the best things in Chris Jericho because they're kind of like 2 peas in a pod. I think they're going to work really well together. So, yeah, it was a great draft for the dungeon, and they have some hard hitters.
Yeah, NerdChronic. I mean, you got to look at this team, and when you look at the top, you're like, wow, this is really great. And then they fill in everything else, and I don't really see a lot of holes on this team, and filling in with folks like John Hoy over there from, I think he's part of the Star Wars Newsnet folks like that. I mean, that's a huge pickup for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's super well-rounded. I mean, when you look at it, it seems stacked on Star Wars. However, people always need to remember that Adam Witt is a 3-division player playing teams and singles as well, which is very important. I know that's what Kaiser loves having him around, on top of the fact that Adam's a very studious, manager, sub-manager for them. Like, he helps organize things. He stepped up for that game with Vinny Mancuso when needed to, when Kaiser couldn't make it. So, it's a very well-rounded team because, getting Parker, Bateman, and Morrill in free agency was a good way to start, and it kind of set the tone for, what he wanted to achieve. So with those in place, picking Mara and then Molly, I don't think is, quite as comparable to, what he did last year, picking an IG player right away, because he had, these other 3 in his pocket already. So, he already had a good forward momentum going into it. And then picking those 3 and then getting Video Drew back was a great way to start his first 2 rounds, because I think, Vidya Drew is a good friend of mine, and I do think that coming off of her perfect game at the end of last season, she just has a lot of forward momentum as well in herself to push the team forward into singles and teams. So yeah, from there, it kind of seemed like Kaiser just had the pick of the litter, because you really had a good first 5-6 players just right out the gate, and then he could just kind of coast comfortably getting who he wanted. And Whitney's a great pickup too. I think Whitney's super underrated. I think he's due for a comeback. Chris Jericho, obviously that's a big point of contention, but they vibed really well. And if you were to put on paper who Jericho would be with, it would be Roxy or Kaiser. I think they fit very well together. And then again, Witt, like I said, is a great addition. I think he's just made for the dungeon. And then the 3 rookies, John Hoey, John Flickinger, and Chris Van Valet. It's, we don't know much about like what they can do, but I mean, Kaiser has a reputation of picking up rookies and doing great things with them and making them into stars, regardless of wins or losses. I think he is able to work and manage with them very well. I think he was able to kind of utilize his picks very, very well from last night.
And speaking of Jericho, we have a super chat come in saying that Jericho tweeted earlier today, "No Roxy, no Jericho." Thank you so much, Kay, coming in with the super chat. And Boggs, that's got to be the question. I saw a lot of picks made last night that really smell like trade bait. I'm a fantasy football savant. I've played since I was literally 12 years old. I've been wheeling and dealing in the art of the GM my whole life. Did you get any sense of that? Like I had that smell.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Cable, for the donation, by the way, helping out the channel at that level. It's always very much appreciated when that happens. Yeah, so all I'm seeing is, of course, with that Jericho situation, yeah. You think that initially, because, they did bond quite well, Jericho and Kaiser. And, we actually talked about that when he was last on our show about a month ago. We were saying, look at the opportunity that you'll get, even to play a match against him, going back and forth. Imagine if you would team up with him. And all of a sudden it kind of happens. Yes. So is it something that maybe they've going to start down the line? Who knows? But I kind of I'm one of them people that kind of like to let it happen and it's kind of not guess that stuff. So I kind of fall for the storyline, if you will. So I do like that. But all this team, I mean, because it's so stacked and even, all I can in my own head, I just think of teams that are going together. Like, Video Drew, who can she go with? I like to maybe Adam Witt, because Adam Witt done really well with Zipper before. Or can he? Who's Jericho gonna go with? That kind of thing. So it's just like such a even team, and Kaiser smashed it here because we spoke about it before with him that I personally feel that Kaiser is a really good in-game manager. That he spends a lot of time with his players, and often probably Chronic will probably be able to confirm how many times in-game matches where he would tell his players to spin away on certain wheel slices and things like that, and a lot of his losses they would not listen and say, no, I'm confident, I want to stick on this, and because I know he's a sports guy, I know he's into man management and things like that. So and we were talking about getting players with as opposed to taking chances with people, get more established players. We just kind of speculate about maybe getting more established players going into next season, players who will listen to certain instructions, that kind of thing. It could benefit you more. And it looks like he's literally done that. So I'm not saying it's because of us, of course. I'm just saying that's the general.
No, you can say that.
Off the bottom, right?
You can say that.
I'm not gonna, we're not gonna big myself up like that. But no, definitely you can see he's kind of reviewed his season and kind of drafted differently. So yes, definitely a solid squad. He smashed it.
Absolutely. And just to remind folks, as we're going along, we got a couple goals through the night. If we had $100 total in super chats, NerdChronic is going to give us a solid backstage, behind the scenes story that you won't hear anywhere else. Yes. So it's going to be something to root for as we move on to the next faction. As we're breaking down, it's going to be a big one. It's Kate. It's the Den. All the picks, all the trades, everything comes down to this. And Boggs is the Den expert this evening. Run us through, sir.
Yes, right off the bat. First of all, love Kate's new personality. Drop this, Chicago thing that she's doing. Forget that. Do the game justice. Gameplay first, character second for me personally, and I love that she's taking that approach now. And she's confident with her picks, and she's so fast and witty with her decision making and stuff. So yes, definitely a solid kind of approach. But yeah, obviously you can see it on screen there. Her again, excellent draft. She had that kind of 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. We already knew she had, of course, Paul Preston and Ben Goddard. Harper going first. Bit crazy, bit surreal. Me and obviously he's been on our show. Me and Colin recorded a Star Wars show with him a couple of days ago as well. So lovely to see the guy getting drafted so early. Duralde going early. Soul, obviously that previous relationship she had, Riley getting picked up. Peggy, another one who's been on the show. Lovely to see her getting picked up. Shout out to her. of course, Jada getting picked up, Lacey as well. Another one of the Star Wars Newsnet guys or girls even. Del Rio obviously had really underrated player, pushed Chanced all the way last year, smashed it, and Jessica Sloth obviously looks like a good rookie, and Silver Strini gets pulled in right at the end there. So really good all round. I guess the same kind of thing. You're wondering who's going to team up with who, that kind of thing. Like a lot of Inner Geekdom players here potentially, and the Star Wars players teaming up like Harper and what's her name again? Lacey, sorry. Yeah, them two teaming up. How strong they're going to be in Star Wars. So yes, another good all rounder here. Maybe no A player, I'd say potentially. Like a player who can, like, if all the tournament's going to start tomorrow, who is a potential winner of the tournament here? Not 100% sure there is one, but a lot of solid B players which can pick up kind of at least a few wins, maybe first, second round in tournaments, that kind of thing. But overall, really solid draft. So NerdChronic, man, what are your thoughts on Kate's?
I mean, it's again, like you said, the comment that people are making that there's no A players on this, I think that's contingent right now, because I do know that the good thing about this roster is that a majority of them at least are very dedicated to improving their game. So that's like a big factor, I think, when you take into account, because we're getting to the point now, I think, like last year was like the big transition where we see like this crossfade between players who come in and they just kind of know what they know, and they kind of just go off their raw knowledge. And then there's the players who are new and they want to study, they want to improve their knowledge in their game. And I think we're getting to the point now where like we see a larger majority of people who have that ambition to up their knowledge. And this team right here looks like a good team that will push each other. Like they are the ones that understand, like, okay, to get better and to really excel in this game, we have to be on top of ourselves to make ourselves better. So like, Paul Preston, Ben Goddard, Richard Silvestrini, like all of them from top to bottom, I really do think that these are the guys that are going to be like in the Zoom chats, like really like organizing this to study and to like kind of like work this out to make sure that they're doing a good job. I do think that if we're just pick anyone out of the bunch, I would probably pick Paul and Ben as like the A players like to head into a tournament. But the newcomers are like really good too. I mean, David Del Rio, he's not a newcomer, but he I think is very much like Ethan in a way, where like kind of McQueenie, where I feel like he has like a lot of raw knowledge, but he also has like a good grasp on the game so far. So I do think he just needs like a little bit of refinement. Maybe he can get that from Kate. Maybe he can get that from his teammates here. I think I know he does love the show. Like when we first met him last season, like he was just like a big fan. Like, he was a big fan in the studio. He was so happy to be there. He was so happy to be involved, and like that kind of like enjoyment of the process, I think it goes a long way. And then Peggy, I love Peggy a lot. Like I know her from the fan leagues and from like our shows too, and like she is definitely deserving of being in the draft and being drafted as well. So I'm really happy to see her involved finally officially. I just think that everyone involved is very gung-ho about making sure that they push each other to the next level, and I think that is going to be like the big difference between this den this year and the den from last year.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like Jada Parama as well. I think he's really underrated. A few perfect rounds last year in a couple of different matches. I think I remember in 2 matches he got like a perfect round 1 and perfect round 3. So yeah, like the guy can definitely play. So watch out for him. But yeah, like some definitely, like I just said it before, but interesting team matchups. Like who's Riley going to go with? Durali going to go with? Peggy going to go with? Jada, Del Rio, like a lot of interesting dynamics here. But what are you thinking about the den?
I agree with you that both Jader and David Del Rio are underrated players. I gotta stand up for my Miami boy Jader, because we're from the same city. Have to always rep him because Miami people, we gotta stick together. David Del Rio, he's so much better than what he gets credit for. I think that he's gonna do awesome this year. I can't wait to see him play. Some of my surprises is just how far down Mark Riley in the 6th round, Rachel Silvestrini, like all the way later in the 9th round, kind of with that was a very like surprising for me. And I misspoke there. Mark Riley 2nd round, but 4th pick. There we go. And so yeah, I really like this. I think Paul Preston, Mark Riley, that's who I'm looking as probably like the A team on there. I would like to see them together. I'm really excited to see who gets teamed up. We all agreed that Thomas Harper should go in the 1st round, and then he did. So that was cool to see. yeah, I like the den. I like this draft that Kate did.
Yeah, shout out to Jada Prama in the chat. Shout out to Gallegos. Obviously, unlucky him not getting drafted. I know he's a close friend of yours as well, Eric.
Yep.
Alex Mazzonia as well. I believe he was in the draft as well. So, yes, it's sorry to hear you guys on the draft, because I imagine it's a really like rough night's sleep, kind of not getting drafted. You know, I was speaking to, like I said, one of the draftees, David Campbell. I was speaking to him kind of overnight. Yeah, he took it a bit rough as well. But you know, he got licky wounds and playing in the new league.
Yeah, and I will say, like, shout out to Alex Marzonia, because like he was drafted by the Den last year. He just didn't get an opportunity to play, which is like a real shame, because like he's been involved with the show for so long at this point. He deserves a shot to show what he has. So I was like, there was part of me when we were getting started, I was hoping he would get drafted again, like to get a shot. But I know, it's like very cutthroat this season because of like everyone's building off of what they had last season. So again, I hope Alex and my friend Andres gets a shot like in the FCL, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Colin, your thoughts on the den, please?
Oof, I love it. It reminds me of Swag last year. I'm getting heavy vibes of that, where like there's gonna be a team that comes out of this, whether it's Ben and Paul or whether it's Riley and Alonzo, which I really think Riley and Alonzo would be deadly. I think that's a team you would, if line up a team lineup of a team's tournament, that's somebody you don't want to play in the first round, because they have the chance to knock you out. And I got really no question marks when it comes to, like, Kate did a really good job here. There's gonna be a lot of talk about whether or not she used those draft picks well. You look at the extra one, she ends up getting Alonzo, Saul in the first. Like that, I mean, it's just incredible that she's able to then come back around and get Mark Riley to really fill it out. It's just, I love it. Like it's kind of, everything kind of fills out perfectly there. Where you get Harper, who Boggs, you talked about it. I'm dead serious. This guy might come for the crown, and he's got the mindset of a bounty hunter, like Boba Fett. Like, I am the best at what I do, and I'm gonna take anybody down in front of me. And that's somebody you need in the house. And I can't wait to see how him and Lacey, if you put those two in a Star Wars tournament, you're racking up points. This is a tournament team. This is a team that's going to come in and get to the second round of some tournaments. So, Box, I'm super excited about these guys.
Yeah, no doubt. So, next team is, I believe, Soul. So, who you got?
Swag, drip, baby. Okay. I'm so excited about Swag. I'm always excited about Swag. We talked about earlier the fact that Ace was taken after Laura Kelly and then all those Michael Jordan memes. So I think he's going to have a great year this year. I think the Star Wars division this year is going to be just out of this world. I can't wait to see all of these Star Wars players play. Another point, I like Haley Fouch in here. I think her with Winston is going to be perfect. Winston has been known to take kind of the second tier level player and then bringing them to the promised land. He's did that with Ace. He did that with Liz Shannon Miller. You got to give Winston props for all the stuff that Chandru accomplished last year. So I think Haley Fouch and Winston are going to be good together. I think it's going to be like Liz Shannon Miller, where like Haley's going to play, Winston's going to be the mouthpiece. We saw that kind of with Kaiser and with Kevin Smets too. So I think that's one of the great ways you can tell that's a pathway to a belt. You got, all you need to worry about is your gameplay. You can have your manager be your voice for you. And the other thing that I loved is that he picked Zipper in the first round. I think Zipper is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player in the Schmoedown. He is a triple threat in singles, teams, and IG. He's done so well, even in defeat. Like, I just love watching him play. Winston brought him into the Schmoedown, so it's like a coming home party, bringing him to Swag. Winston and Zipper, world's finest, bring it back, baby. And so NerdChronic 2, we saw Lon bringing in Jonathan Harris, and we kind of saw the professor. Do you prefer the professor, or do you prefer the delinquent?
I'm a fan of both, and so like something I was like thinking about last night, because like he didn't make like a big show or like confirmation that the professor's back, right? So I'm hoping this is like a long shot. This is obviously in Lon's hands. I'm not like trying to project anything, but I thought it would be funny if he did both. If like one match, like if he acted as if the professor and the delinquent were two existing characters at the same time. So like one match would be the professor, and the match would be the delinquent, and like it would be like two existing characters that like they wouldn't run into each other, but they would like know that each other existed, and like they would just like, but we would see like them doing different things throughout the season. I thought that would just be like a funny stick to do. So we get like basically double Lon, like Lon doing two different things at the same time, and he's like such a great character actor for the show, with the trivia knowledge, obviously. So I think, and bringing his brother in, I think it would be funny to have him paired up with his brother as the professor, and then if we could also get him in a different team as the delinquent, so he's like playing like double matches, but that's two different people. I think that'd be like very, very funny and like such a unique novelty to have in the show.
So kind of having him do like a Jen Jessica thing.
Yeah.
Because I know that Jen Sturger wanted to come out as like Jessica and be the manager of Action Army back in the past. So what do you think of Swag's draft and what they did, NerdChronic?
It's great. I mean, Winston obviously came off like a really great year last year. I mean, he was second in the rankings, and I think he really rolled the dice with this one. I mean, last year we had the storyline with him and Zipper that they were going to have a feud. It unfortunately never like panned out because of pandemic and like matches and stuff like that. So like I think we're okay moving past that, and we can just believe that they made amends, and now Zipper's part of his team because I know they are super close friends in real life, and that's great for them to be together. And Laura Kelly, again, like I know this is like a power play against Shannon. We don't know if there's going to be like a trade in the future for that. A lot of people are speculating it, but yeah, those first two picks, like you said, was like a big dice roll because like I know he wanted on Ace back, and like you said, he let it ride, and like luckily it panned out because like Ace wasn't picked up. Now he gets to go back to Swag, and like that's perfect, match made in heaven. I think they just work so well together because like their vibes are so similar. And then Vinny. Taking Vinny from the dungeon, I know stung them a bit. Like I know, like they love it. The dungeon loves Vinny so much, and so like I know they wish to have him back. But I also think he's a good pick for Winston. I think they're just gonna like do so much fun things together. Haley's super cool because I love Haley so much. I think she is just such a strong competitor with like again like just raw knowledge, but like a good understanding of the game. I always want to see her do more. Jen. I personally, I think that I would have expected her to go higher just because I know she had 2 losses last year, but she is just such a strong competitor. She took Alex Damon to the 3rd round in his IG match. Video Drew had to play perfect to like beat her in her match. Like she is a very underrated competitor. Like she has like a lot of potential. I think Winston will bring that out of her very much so. And Jonathan Harris, I'm happy to see him back because again, like I think he's just such a fun character. I know he's Lon who can do such great things. And Bradley Tingle, I'm unaware of, but I know he's a rookie, so coming in. So again, we'd always need to give them credit to like where credit's due, and hopefully get them a chance to excel. And then Frank Moran, again, like he had James White dead to rights last year in their singles match, and like James managed to pull out a great 5-pointer and win the game that way. But otherwise, Frank really dominated that match. So I think he does deserve another chance to get a match under his belt.
I agree. And looking at this roster, Bradley Tingle is the only rookie on this. So
Right.
Winston went a little differently and picked only one rookie.
Yep.
What do you think about that, Boggs, that there's only one rookie on this faction?
Yeah, because it was a bit strange. He was saying he was doing his checks as well, but they must not have fell in the right place for him, or maybe met the criteria. Because it is again pretty solid. I know we keep saying that, but yeah, great summary there. NerdChronic, like you pretty much covered the whole squad there. But I did, I think Chris in the chat mentioned an interesting maybe Lon and his brother Jonathan teaming up again potentially. You wouldn't think so because obviously Final Exam is so strong. I know Yama obviously leading that charge, but it would be interesting to see them again and seeing if he did kind of both brothers play both. If Lon kind of flip flop there. But the standout for me, sorry, I got to address it. I was uncomfortable watching this at some point when completely understand why he done it and why he drafted Laura Kelly. But for me, that was cold. For me, that was until he brought in Ace back. I literally felt that was disrespectful. I thought, what are you doing, Winston? I don't care if she's got a number 1 contender match. I don't care. Like, get Ace there. Players of the year last year. Dan Morrill, Adam Collins, Jeff Snyder, Chance Ellison, and Ace Cabrera. You don't leave the guy like that, man. Come on, what's this? Like the guys at the People's Champ, I was shocked. I was upset watching this. Like, how could you do that? What are you doing? So, but luckily but then it's not necessary. So he's done that, and then literally every manager has left him after that as well. I was shocked watching this. Luckily, he got him back. So I think Ace kind of reacted to it as well, quite humorously and on Twitter and stuff. But no, I completely felt for the guy. For me, he would have been picked first round. I don't care who's got number one contender match or whatever. Him, what he done last year, he got more points, and some factions had points last year. And he carried the Schmoedown on his back for a couple of months last year. I'd 100% draft him way early. I felt personally that was a little bit disrespectful for the guy, but luckily Winston got him back. So that was my hot take for Swag. But go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I understand that, and I know Ace was like, giving us the Michael Jordan memes, like we said, for all this stuff. And I do think, maybe there's like a little disrespect there that you can read into it. But I do think if Ace were to sit in the war room with Winston about this, I think he might understand it, just because, again, this last year it came down between Swag and corruption. And so if you can't assume that's going to go away, right? Like you have to assume like we're going to come back into the season and that rivalry is still going to be there. And so they need to be able to, if there's a chance to steal each other's chess pieces before the game even starts, I think that's kind of what you got to do sometimes. I think Winston taking Laura Kelly, I did put a hole in her draft where she otherwise would have filled with her getting when she got her pick with Star Wars, because like Shannon said, when we'll get to it, when she started her draft picks, like she didn't have a Star Wars player, and like so a lot of them have been taken already from like the top picks that people have been like raving about. I think Winston taking Laura was like a first shot type of thing against Shannon, like even before the season starts. Like that's his first move against her. I do think that he has her on his radar because he knows she's a serious threat, and so he wants to take this faction win the season. And so he had to do what he had to do to make sure that they get the advantage going into the first season, or the first match of the season.
Yeah. I guess there's some of the hits that you got to take or strategic decisions you got to do as a manager. And the reason that's kind of seen some of these are the reasons why he's finished kind of second, nearly won the title last year. So fair enough. But it did upset me watching it happen. So So shout out to Winston. But
well, he didn't let it happen, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing, where it's like Shannon had the opportunity to come back and pick. Like her pick was next, and he picks Ace. So he picks Ace just before Shannon has two opportunities to get a Star Wars player. And like I'll talk about in a second with corruption, having to settle is a tough word in the Star Wars division. Let's be real. All these people are experts beyond belief, and it's incredible. Their knowledge is just absolutely incredible. Like, so I think just did a fantastic job of like really just crushing it all around. Like, I love the fact there's one rookie on this team. This reminds me of like a team, a mid-major college and college basketball that makes its way to like the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, where they're like, how'd this team get here? Well, they have veteran leadership. Like, you got people who have been in real hard matches from 1, 2, 3. How many people on this team have played in a championship match? Like, you're looking at like 4 or 5 people in this that have been in an opportunity to be in a number one contender match or a championship match. So that's experience all across the board. I think the sleeper on this whole thing, I think we might see the team of Ladies Night of Haley Fouch and Jen Kemp. I think those two would just come in and just bring this Swag needs. I think Soul's already nodding her head. She's like, yes, I approve.
You took the question that I had for you, Colin, right out of my mouth. So you're reading my mind.
I'm with. I Gene graded. I just took it right out. And Frank coming in as the 12th. Coming in. I know last night they took to Twitter after to finish out the draft. And Bradley Tingle, I don't know anything about that, but that is one hell of a name. I love that. You gotta, that's just great. You can't teach that. I mean, just like Bradley Tingle, you just want to hear that all day long. Like, so, I mean, Swag, I grade it at like a B plus, A minus of a draft. I give this my.
Yeah, I do think like the most interesting, I think, piece in this whole roster, though, is Eric Zipper. I mean, just because I know you mentioned Haley and Jen, I just think Zipper would be such a great partner for like almost anyone at this point, because like he's such a strong competitor and he's like constantly improving from what he did last year. And I think he would be great with Vinny, because like they're dungeon mates like from previous faction. I think he would be great with Haley because they were on a team once during the corruption teams tournament, and then like they also play each other in a very heated match, which is sudden death. So like I think Zipper like I think is the piece that Winston's gonna have to figure out like what to do with like the right. He's gonna have so many avenues to explore with him. I think he's gonna have to like really decide what's the best option for him. And once he has that, I think that we're gonna take a lot of great stuff from him and whoever his teammate may be.
I think he's my underdog for the person on this team who will accrue the most points for swag this season. I think Zipper's going to be in situation after situation where his team is going to get into the second, third round of a tournament. He's going to make his way deep into an IG tournament. This is somebody who's got almost more experience than anyone else on this roster. I think he might be the most experienced in terms of like, just time in the Schmoedown out of everybody on this team. Like, this is pretty impressive for Eric to come in here and to be able to actually feel like he doesn't have to lead. I feel like last year, unfortunately, with the dungeon and everything that went down, he was forced into a position of like, I have to do a little bit more. And now to be able to come in here and to be, like they say, like in football, you got a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. He's coming to be a great wide receiver 2. Not all the pressure on him. You don't get the best coach. So like this for swag.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff from Winston. Again, let's take it over to Corruption, who we had to wait to see for a while. They didn't have a pick until the top of the end of the third round. Got a little weird there. And then coming back with the pick right after that with Mark Hoyk and Joseph Scrimshaw. I was immediately on board with grabbing Mark. I thought he was super underrated after, for a lot of people who don't know, Mark's one of the first folks who came out on the internet and did movie trivia. So this is someone who knows his stuff. This is not to be, frankly, like this is a bit of a slack on some of these other teams that Mark lasted until this long. I think he would have been a great addition to any other team, but fit the Corruption bill just right. I think he can come in and be a great singles player. He was fantastic, obviously, in the horror free-for-all. He's just a solid, like, he's a computer. He's one of those computer minds where it's just like he knows it in the first 3 seconds or he doesn't know it at all. And you can just tell he's a Terminator like that. I love picking up Sean Sullivan. That was a great pickup in the, what round was that? That'd be the 5th round. I love that. Sean's fantastic. He brings that energy over that is like, this team from top to bottom needs a bit of something else besides the KO chance and Adam Collins dynamic. So bringing in Sean, James White, I think is a fantastic pickup. I think one of the most underrated. This guy was I think I've read this story correctly, and Eric, I think you can. I think he was the guy who flew out last year and had a match, and then the match got canceled while he was out there. And then comes in and just has a hell of a performance, and then just kind of gets written out the rest of the season because that's just how the rest of the season went. To be a pickup like this in the final round of the televised draft, like, unbelievable stuff, because this guy was a highly touted rookie. He was coming in hot last year. Boggs, I'll throw it over to you first, man. Do you think that Shannon really did a good job with this trade, or you think she would have been better holding on these picks, or you think Marisol and the team that she got after that was enough?
Yeah, I feel like her hand was a little bit forced because of the situation, the Marisol situation. But, that's the kind of path that she chose draft-wise. So she had to wait a long time. Obviously, she got Hoyt back. But Scrimshaw, he's solid. He can beat obviously his record doesn't suggest it, but we know his gameplay is up there, and he can literally beat any player, any Star Wars player on any given day. So yes, definitely, and obviously Sean Sullivan there as a second backup, Jacob London, draftee, obviously Clee, she previously had before. James White was a second round draft pick before. Obviously Claudia Doll she previously had, and Elliot Dewberry as well. So overall, I'd say solid list, not as as kind of glossy as some of the previous ones that we've talked about, because kind of we know where her strengths lie. We know where the strengths are in this team. It is, for me, it's a little top heavy, but it's that's the kind of hand that she dealt with. They're her go-tos. They're the ones that won. They're the reigning champs. So I'm not surprised at that. But Eric, what are your thoughts on corruption?
Yeah, I mean, I always have lots of opinions on corruption, obviously, because I was drafted by them last year before I had to bow out. So like I'm always really interested in what Shannon's going to do with her picks, because I think she does her homework. Like she really thinks about her picks a lot before she pulls the trigger on any of them. And I knew she was like in an odd spot, because like she luckily had Mike, Chance, and Adam. I mean, what more can you ask for when you have those three under your belt to start with? And then she got Marisol, which I know she really wanted her back. So like for that trade she made with Kate, I knew like she's not going to take it one way or the other. Like she knows Marisol's like what she wants, no questions asked. And so I know the final piece in that kind of puzzle that she really wanted was Laura Kelly. And so when she couldn't have that, I think the next best option she wanted to get was Hoik, because again, Hoik was like one of their her faction mates last year, her members last year, and he did a great job. He was MVP at the Horror Free For All, and like he's just such a wealth of knowledge. I think that she obviously wanted to have him back so she could put him in singles or teams. That like he's going to be like such a strong foundation of knowledge for them to go into this game. And then from there, she had to kind of change things up. Joseph Scrimshaw to get a Star Wars player. Yeah, like you said, like to say that she was stuck with Scrimshaw is like a weird way to assess the situation, because like Scrimshaw again is just raw knowledge, and like it's not like he is unfamiliar with the game either, right? Because he's been around for a long time, and so like he knows how this game works. And like Demolanta got him on one word. He took him to sudden death, and it was one word that was the deciding factor between them in their match last year. And so you can't underestimate Scrimshaw. I think Scrimshaw is still the person who's given Alex Damon the best run for his money in like all the defenses that Alex has had. Laura, I didn't take him that far. Ace didn't take him that far. It was Scrimshaw that took him very close to the end in Chicago when they faced each other last. So I think he's like such a great pick, and like don't underestimate him at all. And then Sean, another Star Wars player. I mean, him working with Scrimshaw, if they can like train together, I mean, it's just like perfect. I mean, Sean, I think is also very underrated, because I know how hard he works to like up his Star Wars game. And yeah, like he had a good match against Adam. It was like he had a couple stumbles, like which can be significant in the Star Wars League, but he came in strong against Laura Kelly, and like with the way Laura plays, you would assume that she would like blow him out of the water, but no, it was still pretty close. Like Sean had one or two misses that cost him the game, but I do think that he has the ability to bounce back from that. And with the other Star Wars players we have, I think he has the ability to show what he has against these new rookies, and see like and prove why he's a player in this game. And then Jacob, I know Jacob very well. He's fantastic. He's such a strong family player and such a great fan of the game and the show in general. I think he is long overdue for this opportunity to be in the show itself, and I'm very happy to see him involved. Klee, like Shannon said, like she got stuck, in a rough position too. Like, that match was originally supposed to be Cameron Rice and someone, I can't remember who last year. And it got canceled because one person got sick. He couldn't show up. And so we last minute in studio, we put Barbarian versus Klee together in their match into the singles match that you saw. And so that was very last minute. They just happened to be in the studio that day. They were not expecting to play. And so they said, like, oh, do you guys want to play now? And they're like, sure, like we'll go for it. So she jumped into it and she did great. Like she really did great. I don't know if people remember that match very well, but Barbarian, came out as the star because he went perfect. He went multiple choice once, but he didn't miss at all. And so people thought like that's his star. He's going to go far. Klee missed a couple, but like she also did very well. Like she just missed on her 5-pointer, which is, I would think was a straight out of Compton question. And she couldn't recover. But she was solid. Like she had like a great second round. And like, I do think that she has deserved an opportunity to shine again with Shannon. Like, I'm glad Shannon picked her up for another shot. And then, like I said, James White, he was highly touted. He was picked, was second by Rob Burnett, or first maybe last year. And so people were thinking like, who's this guy? Like, who's this guy coming in that we need to know about, this rookie that we don't know anything about? He didn't get a chance to play until the singles tournament. And he had like a kind of a shaky match at first with Frank Moran. He was able to pull it out at the end and get the win. But then against Bibbs, he did fantastic. And like, to do fantastic against Bibbs is saying a lot. So I think he does have, again, the potential to do really well. I think he'll mesh well with Corruption and their whole vibe. I think they'll utilize him very, very well. And then Claudia Dolph, again, same thing. She had a up and down match with Warfather, and she did very well. She had the commanding lead up until round 3, and she hit like a streak of bad luck. Like she had, again, Warfather dead to rights in round 3. He was sunk, and she just happened to miss all 3 of her round 3 questions. She only had to hit 1, and she missed all 3, and that sucks, but it happens to people. It happens to the best of us. And I do think that she, again, deserves an opportunity to shine again. Like she really, really has a great knowledge of the game and of trivia. I think deserves to be seen this year when Shannon gets to play her again. And then Dewberry, obviously we all know how that ended. He took Josh McCouga out of the game for us, and that's what a way to stamp a legacy on your game here. And Dewberry is an example of why I think Shannon really deserved Manager of the Year last year, and why they deserve to win the faction thing, because Shannon was able to utilize everyone in her roster except for Rick Ramos, just because of scheduling, very well. Like everyone excelled and did something with like their gameplay and like their character work. Like no one just kind of came in just like oh, so I'm gonna play a game, like whatever. Like she connected with everyone, she utilized everyone, and Dewberry was the perfect example of like when he came out with that shaved head and his like Hitman suit, like like he looked fantastic, and it was such a great moment. Like that's when I felt like okay, so that's when I knew Shannon has like won this thing, because doing that with Dewberry, who was otherwise just like this party bro, who was like just came in, he knew trivia and he would hang out and have a fun time, to see him play that character at the behest of Shannon for the sake of the story and for the sake of like the stakes of that match, I thought that was like a great exemplification of like what this whole thing is about. And I think Shannon got that. I think Dewberry got that. And so I'm really excited about her roster here. I think she has like everything in place that she needs. I do think this is potentially this, like, not on paper or stats wise the strongest draft. I do think in terms of potential, I think this is the strongest one. I think she's able to be able to utilize all these people very, very well. I don't think there's a misplaced player in this entire roster.
Yeah, this whole from top to bottom, she's filled out. It reminds me of last year's roster with a bit more Star Wars, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that because, like you said, Scrimshaw gives Alex Damon the biggest run for his money. So I'm going to throw it over to you because this, to me, is like just primed for Shannon to make another run. Are you of the opinion that this is has Shannon done enough for you to compete with Swag?
This is one that I do like the picks that she made. My bias is going to make me say that I liked Swags a little bit better. But one person that I'm actually excited and I want to point out is Clee Wiggins. Just like NerdChronic said, she wasn't supposed to play that match. And she did so well in that match regardless, and that was unprepared. I want to see a prepared Clee Wiggins. I want to see what damage she's going to bring to this league. So that's the person I'm watching out for. And then obviously Joseph Scrimshaw is Joseph Scrimshaw. I can't wait to see him go dark side because he is with corruption. I think it's time for him to get another win under his belt. So those are the two I'm looking at here in corruption.
Question, NerdChronic. So obviously corruption, Shannon. Looking at this list, honestly, objectively, let's say she was going to draft you, okay? Where do you think she would have drafted you on this list?
I mean, last year it was in the final round. I was her last pick on the Twitter picks that they did. And if it were coming from that same logic, I would understand being drafted last because I don't have anything to show. Like I got in because of a recommendation from Chance, because I know Chance very well and he recommended me to be considered, and so I really appreciate that. But coming in as a rookie, it's hard. Obviously, we know, you look at her, the only rookie that she drafted was Jacob London, who has a huge reputation in the fan leagues and in the show in general. So she has a lot to look at. But for me, I didn't have a lot of game tape. I didn't have a lot to look at, just just word of mouth and my involvement with the show. I would expect to be drafted last, if not in the same area that Jacob was, based on just taking a chance on people. Because I think the biggest thing I had for last year being drafted with her is Chance, putting a good word for me, but she understood that I understood the game very well. Obviously, because I work for the show, I understand a lot of the kind of strategy and the mind stuff about the game and how it works. So there's nothing to teach me about that aspect. So all it was to worry about was just the trivia to to refine. And so I think that's what she was looking for. And with these people, I think it's kind of similar. Everyone, she knows everyone could hold their own. Like she knows it. Now it's just about refinement. That's the only thing she has to worry about. No one has to learn anything here. Like it's just about taking what you have and just making it better.
Absolutely, Boggs. I think it's your shot now. Taking it over to the Finstock Exchange or the exchange now, whatever. Finstock Exchange. Who knows?
Big debate. So, seemingly a very I'm going to say weird draft, because I'm like every time like Gucci made a pick, I actually thought like he was getting the names wrong at first, because I did not know anyone who he was saying, because a lot of these people haven't been on the circuit, they haven't been on our show, we haven't interviewed any of these rookies, bar Rick Radis. But yeah, the as well, first of all, I do need to give a shout out to our friend Rick Radis. Me and Colin know him kind of outside of this Schmoedown a little bit, so absolutely thrilled for the man to get drafted. So yeah, shout out to him. But yeah, like just running through this draft, I was confused as everyone else. What the hell is these guys doing? But then I've done my research. First of all, as well, Gucci joining the draft, him on backstage, him on Gucciverse. For me, I feel like he was man of the match, like man of the day. I was belly laughing at this guy talking about the documents and just his banter, and I was thoroughly entertained all night watching this guy. So some people, I can see that obviously he's annoyed some people in the community and stuff, but I was thoroughly entertained by this guy all night long. And this, like, they've explained their draft picks, right? They're a lot of players that were managers weren't reaching out to these and weren't doing their research. And I watched the Gucciverse, and they've brought on a lot of these guests. They are stellar players. Like obviously NerdChronic and Video Drew was on there as well. I saw you guys. Some of these players are great characters and they're top players. We knew obviously even Bushkar, seen him on Spin from the Real, shout out to them boys. That he looks like a really solid Star Wars player. But no one else really. I knew Kim Taylor Foster. She's the British girl I was referring to earlier. Shout out to her. But everyone else, Taylor Robinson's obviously played previously and in a Geekdom and a free for all. I knew no one else. I didn't even know what they look like. No idea. But upon doing research, upon watching the Gucciverse, watching all these guys come in, they are stellar players. They look super interesting. Great characters, obviously Brother Lomas as well. So they've got such a good balance here. And as well, like the Barbarian was running, he's run like quizzes, drills with each of these players. I think he explained like he was doing like a round 1 10 question type thing. He was explaining like Rick Radis and Brother Lomas got perfect rounds, as did Taylor Robinson. So I think he was asking round 1 or round 2 kind of level questions. But so every single one of these guys have been through the like tested basically. I think Ty Liebman is a friend of his, like kind of with him and like Ethan Irwin and Lishana Miller, that kind of circle, and the rest are all kind of vetted. And I believe JTE's pick is Jeffrey Kahn as a potential teammate of his. So yeah, these guys have done their research. Don't be fooled by these are random picks or silly picks. Yes, on paper, but they're saying they've done their research and they're bringing these people on, and like these guys are looking dangerous this year. Again, unproven, but I'm loving the character work, the personalities, and their ability. If the Barbarian's saying he's giving them tough questions on a regular, and these guys are passing with flying colours, I'll take their word for it. So for me, it's super interesting dynamic and team here. Dagnino on fire all night. So I personally was thoroughly entertained by the Finstock exchange. Eric, what are your thoughts on the Finstock?
It's very funny. He drafted, besides the top 3, drafted all rookies, right? Mm-hmm. That was obviously a clear strategy they're going with, like for this season, and it's maybe it'll pay off, maybe it won't. Like it seems very similar to kind of what people were chastising Kaiser for last season, for like banking on rookies. Mm-hmm. But I know Craig did his, like you said, his homework to really test these people and see like what they got. And the thing I will give them credit for is that they're testing, they're looking for knowledge. Obviously, they want to make sure everyone can hang trivia wise. I think they did their diligence to make sure that's rounded out. But they're clearly also looking for characters, and like they clearly want people who have the balance of both. They want people who aren't just knowledge pieces, that people could just answer questions. They want people who have something to offer showmanship wise, because that's what like kind of Craig is all about. It's what Finstock's all about. And there's Jeffrey. And I think that this feels like a better fit for Finstock, the Finstock exchange, and for Gucci than like the team he had last year, because like last year we had this like perception that he's like the manager that handles like like the stallions, like the big wigs, like the champions and all this stuff. But like this year, like we're leaning into the idea that he is the eccentric billionaire manager that handles the eccentric roster. Like these are like wild cards. These are all people that you're going to see on screen. You're gonna be like, what is this guy doing? Like, where's he coming from? Rick Radis, the Rager, brother Lomas, and like all these people. And I got to know a little bit of Ty last night too on the Finstock, the Gucciverse show, and like they're all coming in with like really strong like character traits that I think are gonna like make their team very special. And I think it's just a perfect match, to see the idea of like Rick on the team with brother Lomas. Like I think it's just like the possibilities are so nuts that it's such a fun thing to conceptualize. I really think that going into this season, Gucci's going to have his hands full, making sure that everyone is excelling to like the best of their ability, because like they're going to have again trivia to worry about, but also character. And I think that's what their priorities are at. And from a production standpoint, I really appreciate that, because like characters are super fun and characters are really great and help like kind of sell the show on these unique talents. And like the wins are obviously great. I know they want to win and they're doing their homework to make sure that'll happen. But I'm glad that they're prioritizing overall personality as well, because that's going to make the show even more special once we get started.
Yeah, interesting from a production viewpoint, like you said, that like we don't know these guys. Like, how committed are they be? Like, especially if you're drafting a few rookies, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, then you kind of manage that situation. You've got like 6 here, 7, like managing a whole bunch of them. You're asking to maybe for them to cut promos on deadlines, that kind of thing. Obviously a bit of a harsh question, but are you worried about that at all? Is there a slight concern? Or
I mean, luckily, the rookies have done like a great job, like making the rounds on these after shows. So like I have some information to pull from. Like last year and the year before that, it was hard. It was hard to promote rookies because like we didn't have any information on them or any footage. But now there's like some stuff, and like everyone coming into the game, like I think luckily we have reached a point where if you're getting into the show, like now what's expected of you. You have to cut promos, you have to like show off like a little bit of flair, and so people are doing that. Like I know Mary Wilson, the Star Wars player, just cut like a great promo on Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoedown last night, which Christian just tweeted about. Like it was great. It was fantastic. She's like really calling people out and she's getting into it, and that's what we need. And so I think I'm happy that Gucci and Craig, the Barbarian, did a great job picking these people who have made rounds and who have like a lot to say about like with their character and what to expect from them. I know Evan Bushker, a gold leader, he had a lot to say on several of the after shows too, and like he's very confident, but he's also like a very like kind of like bubbly guy, which I think is like funny. Like he's a very like happy, like he has like a great smile, and but he's like talking a lot of smack. He's very serious about what he's going to do in the league, and so it kind of reminds me of like the inverse of Brendan Meyer. Brendan Meyer, who has like this very happy demeanor, but he's a nice guy. This is like if Brendan Meyer was like a heel, which is like a great novelty, but like didn't change his demeanor. He's just like a happy guy that's going to tell you he's going to beat you into the ground.
Yeah, Colin, for your thoughts, Jeffrey Khan in the chat, right? They the people at Finstock Exchange are saying your name is King Khan. How do you whilst Colin answers that, how do you actually pronounce your name? If you could type it in the chat, is it Khan or is it Khan? So Colin, what are your thoughts on Finstock Exchange?
Boggs, I appreciate you always coming in with the pronunciation.
Yeah, minority. We don't know exactly. Let him tell us how to pronounce his name instead of us guessing and stuff. Yeah, but go ahead.
Bingo. I'm fine with this because it sounds like I didn't do enough of my research, and Griffin and Ty are people I need to look out for. I know Rick, like coming in, like Rick's trouble, and coming in Khan, like the Star Trek villain Khan. I love it. That's what we need. You to make all your opponents scream as you take them down one by one. I'm a fan of everything that, like, besides not drafting Laura Kelly with one of these first couple picks. That's the only thing I think I would have done differently to just get a little bit more experience on the roster, because that's the only thing I'm thinking that Tom's really missing here on the back end. Obviously, he's got it in Roka and JTE, people who have been here literally since season 1 and 2, like been here the entire time. And Craig is a genius. So anyone else is just, they're good. So we're going to see a lot of top-heavy points this season, but I think there's going to be some surprises on this season, on this team this season, much like we saw from Corruption last year. I think Corruption was not the team that people were talking about at the beginning of the season. They were definitely talking about Shannon and her antics at the draft, but they were definitely talking about this team last year and how this team was going to perform. And now we're going to see how the exchange rebounds after a bit of a rebuild. I'm excited to see it, Boggs. This team has got, like NerdChronic said, a lot of character. There is so much character here, and I'm a fan of it. So, Matt Thomas coming in saying Craig said the game plan the entire time was to draft rookies, and they would have taken Harper first if given the chance. So, yeah, you got to adjust. Sometimes your draft plan doesn't always go the way it's supposed to go. So, is what it is. Sol, over to you. What are your thoughts and opinions on the exchange?
This was the weirdest draft, obviously, of the night. Like Boggs was saying, it was just like, who? And then I had to go like on the Twitter and see like how to actually like write their names, because I was writing all of them down on a notebook, and I was like, I don't know these people, so I don't know how to spell their names properly. Let me go check that out. I think Gucci at the end of this year, he's either going to look like a genius or he's going to look like a fool. And I can't wait to see which side he falls on.
Yeah, shout out to Aisha in the chat and Matt Thomas from Spin for the Real. Everyone check out that after show if you haven't already. But yes, guys, who is the next one? We're going Quirky Mercs, right? You, so?
Yes, Quirky Mercs. So first, I gotta just say that the Real Rejects are still together. They weren't broken up. That's my favorite part about it. If that's my bias, because I love the Real Rejects.
Yeah. The longest running team in the league we have now.
Yeah.
And of all time, yeah.
Friends of yours as well, right? All right.
Yes, yeah, very good friend. Yeah.
Nice.
So I liked the pickup of Andrew DeMolanta. I think it was a great pickup for Coy. I was a little surprised that he fell all the way to like the 4th pick in the first round, because I thought he was going to be swept up a little bit earlier than that. Like I thought it was going to be first or second pick was going to be DeMolanta. So I was surprised that it fell to Coy. And then also friend of the show, Jesse Swift, was picked up in the 3rd round. So congrats to him. And like, I'm glad that Coy also got to keep Perry. I think Perry is such a great facet on the Quirky Mercs. I think she works so well with Coy. Again, like I said before, I'm a little sad that Witching Power is no longer together, but I think still now I'm thinking like, who is she going to be teamed with? And I'm excited. I'm looking at this. Is she going to be with the Sabrina Ramirez? Is she going to be, I don't know what division Josh Horowitz is in, but I'm excited for this team. I'm excited to see what they do. Again, I'm excited for the Real Rejects. So my question for you, Eric, is because the Real Rejects are now the longest running team, does that make it easier when you're having to cut promos that you have so much footage on them already, since they've been in the league for a long time?
Yeah, I mean it does, because they haven't changed, right? Like they're still the same guys that we've known for like years at this point, and which is great. It's like a consistent thing to work from. I have like the footage I can pull from 3 years ago is like the same antics that they would pull now, and they're just such a fun team to have. I really do like having them around because I think they just again exemplify what a lot of the game should be, like fun showmanship, like just like a fun time. Obviously they want to win. I know Greg and John have like a good wealth of knowledge that they can have. And like, I know Greg studied very hard last year to like up his game in IG specifically. Like he took Kalinowski to like the final round in his game against each other in the IG tournament. And like, yeah, they have what it takes to excel. And I'm glad they're playing, because I know I talked to Greg early on. I think he had mentioned this publicly that, he is producing a film right now. It's like there was a possibility that he wasn't going to be able to play in the first half of the year. So like he told Coy, like, maybe just don't consider me if like I can't like commit to it. And so, but I'm glad they're both back. Like I'm really happy to see them involved. I hope they get to play very soon. And yeah, like it's other than that, it's just such a great list overall.
And Colin, for you, what pick do you like the most that Coy made in this draft?
It's got to be our boy Jesse Swift coming on the show. now the main number one IG player for the Quirky Mercs, and that's a hefty burden to bear when you got the great Kevin Smith on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jesse can carry the mantle. Perry slip into 7, or not 7, but 1, 2, 3, the 4th round. Interesting there. She was great last year, of course, upsetting Mike Kalinowski. So you got to see her coming back strong in the singles division, and I think she'd be a great partner for somebody, maybe even Kevin Smith, on a team going forward. I'm super excited for that. Boggs, give us your quirkiest, murkiest take.
Yeah, so Jesse Swift, yes, obviously friend of the show. He seems solid, but no, don't forget Greg Alba and John Humphrey as well. Greg Alba playing fantastic against Kalinowski last year, losing out on the 5-pointer, and obviously Humphrey as well, losing out to the Barbarian, I believe. And yeah, he beat Janine as well. So these guys can definitely play in a geek team. So I'd like to kind of see them guys maybe face off, and the winner kind of plays in the tournaments. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is I believe NerdChronic is a friend of theirs as well. Shout out to Tuska in the chat. That Eric Whiteley, like I've been watching Blind Wave. That's the, from all the celebrity kind of announcements and stuff, this was the only reactor that I knew of. I've been watching Blind Wave since, I want to say, Rebels was on, because I used to watch Rebels episodes, Star Wars Rebels episodes. I used to watch Blind Wave's reactions of them. These guys are so informative and educational and smart and entertaining. The original crew, I think it was Eric, Shane, and Aaron. You probably know them all. Yeah, these guys are, I just think they're really talented guys. I was so happy they got drafted. I was wondering if he'd get drafted in the first place. Because these guys are like seriously knowledgeable about Star Wars and just the overall lore and stuff. So, but yeah, him to get drafted so early, that was great. That was a real shock. So yeah, definitely happy to see him in. But how good is he really, though, Eric? You tell us.
I mean, I think he's great, and I am heavily entrenched in the reaction community on YouTube. Like my other two friends who unfortunately weren't drafted, Demon Snow and Abby Corinne. Like I also recommended them into the league because I think they'd be great. I'd reach out to Eric and told him what the deal was. Hey, we're getting into our next season, and distance isn't an issue anymore as far as gameplay, because we're doing this online, and I've always wanted more reactor friends involved. Greg and John are fantastic, and Late to the Party are also fantastic, and I just know these people are out there who have good knowledge and really entertaining personalities on camera. I think it's just a perfect fit for them to be on the show. So I reached out to a handful of people, and it's here's what the show is, here's kind of how it works, here's what the expectations are of what would be involved if you were to try to put your foot in the water. And Eric was one of the ones that got back to me. He's like, hey, I've seen some of the matches you recommended, and I think I can do this. I think I would have I think I can hang if these are the questions. For Star Wars specifically, he's going to be a Star Wars player, potentially IG. He said if these are the level of questions that they're asking, I think I have a shot of hanging in this division. And so I put him in contact with Christian. We talked, and luckily Eric gets it. Eric gets the trivia aspect and the Star Wars aspect and the wrestling aspect. Eric is a big wrestling fan as well, and so he knows what this show is. He gets it right away, and which is great. And so bring him in. I know the Wave Riders, the Blind Wave fan base, they came in strong last night. By the time before we even started, I think we had 1,000 people watching. And they were most of them were Blind Wave fans. They were just clamoring for Eric. Where's Eric? Draft Eric. And it was nuts. It was overwhelming, and it really was. But I know they meant well. And luckily, Christian said this on his stereo, podcast about it afterwards, that they came in. And people were saying we just want Eric. We're just here for Eric. But someone, I think it might have been Billy, had said, hey, Eric said come and support the whole thing. Don't come in and riot for him. Come and support the whole show. And everyone kind of was, they're still clamoring for him, but they were being excited. They're being very positive about the whole thing, which was great. And I think that's a great fan base to bring into this whole thing. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve, I will say. Look, everyone's going to come in, and we're going to have Blind Wave fans who aren't familiar with the show, and they're not going to get it right away. And that's the natural, growing pains you have bringing in new audiences. But I think there will be a percentage of them that will see it and that will enjoy it one way or another, and they're going to stick around, and that's going to grow the show. I think Eric is going to be a big part of that, and so would have been so many other people who could have been drafted, Frank Alvarez, we're talking about in a bit, Iman and Abby, and Sean Chandler and Kat and Sonny, they have so much potential to bring in like fun people to watch the show. That I'm really glad that Eric, of all people, got drafted so high too by Coy. I think it's a perfect fit for Coy and Eric. It's also a perfect fit for the show. I'm really excited to see him involved. I think he does have the potential and the backing to excel in the Star Wars League very, very strongly.
Yeah, this whole team is just solid. I think Coy is one of the people last year who I think really got his footing halfway through the season.
Yeah.
He really kind of figured out like, oh, all right, I kind of get it now. And having Kevin Smith really kind of being one of the hottest singles competitors right now, arguably 2.5 wins away from, getting to a title shot possibly. He's on a tear right now. It's going to be interesting to see where the Mercs points come from this year. DiMolanta has to close on that opportunity, or else he's got the biggest opportunity to bust this year. Yeah, that in terms of the first round picks, because he can't pick up points in the pickup match between Laura Kelly and Molly Damon, so that's already makes them more attractive. And then he's got to beat either one of them, and then he plays Damon. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because the next time we wouldn't see him probably until Star Wars tournament. When would that be? We don't know when that's going to be, probably until the summertime. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I believe next up.
I will say that before we move on, I will say I do want to give specific acknowledgement to Beth May, because I think Coy got it when he said, the quirky part of her fits them very well. And she made a big splash on Facebook with her videos. And I just want to say, I've spoken with her a couple times, because I know Vidya Drew's a big fan of hers as well. And she would have loved to have her on the dungeon, but things turned out the way they did with this one. I think she's a great fit for Coy. I just wanted to say, keep an eye on her, because I do think that she's going to be a star very, very soon, one way or another, because she has what it takes to just, again, excel personality-wise into this show that's going to make us look really, really good, because I think she has the ability to just have such a fun and great personality on camera. I think her trivia stuff is going to match that once she gets there. But I do think right now, once she's able to get in there, maybe teamed up with Perry, or even again Jesse or something like that. Not Jesse, he's Josh Horowitz. Yes, I think that she's going to be able to make a big splash on the show once she gets to an opportunity.
Absolutely, those videos were hilarious.
Yeah.
It was too much. Coming in there and then having Shannon mock her, but fake mock her, be the inspiration for her making fun of the fans. It was just too great. So I believe we're 6 down, 2 to go, and we're coming in hot. Last bit here, we're gonna have me coming in with the usual suspects, one of my favorite drafts of the night. I really think Sam has kind of done his homework, and by way has really used the help at home. I think the Crusher has come in, and much like Craig, the Barbarian, can kind of test on these rookies with for Tom. I think that Rachel is great to have when it comes to some of these IGs and Star Wars stuff, because of course we know Sam's got it down in singles, former singles champion of the world. We know he can testify, but it's nice to know that he's got some help there with the Crusher. Ethan Irwin, Drew McWeeny, and Liz were the keepers. Big shock of the night. The number 2 pick in the draft. Amaru Moses. Friend of producer Mike Shea. They've competed in the same fan league. I've heard nothing but stellar things. So, and it seems that, Sam watched the tape. I think Sam watching the tape really showed that, I got to get this guy on my squad. And he's coming. He's a killer. But it was not all, fun and games. He got some real hitters here with Marie Wilson coming in Star Wars, friend of the show. Love that. Big shouts to her. Good on you. And then following right up with Stacey Howard, the best guesser currently in the Schmoedown. She will come and she could guess your weight. That's her, if things ever go wrong. Oh, Mike Shea coming in saying Amaru wiped the floor with me, and that ain't easy. Well, yes, because obviously Amaru has had chance after chance to come in and make a name for himself in these fan leagues, and it seems that Everyone's heard of him. I'm excited. Frankie Alvarez, Paul Walter Hauser. I think that's the star of this. You know, Cobra Kai fame. Done a couple flicks with a guy named Clint Eastwood. Ever heard of him? But Doug Benson being the 12th pick makes this guy right here very happy. Me. I love Doug Benson. I'm a big Doug Loves Movies guy. I think Doug Benson, once he actually gets a chance to play, because I know he got drafted last year and he just didn't get a chance to play because, everything that happened. So, Boggs, that's my overall assessment of the usual suspects. I give them like a B, a solid B, Didn't go out of the way to do anything too drastic. Kind of kept it in terms of the draft. Team, I'm more on the upper side of that because of Ethan Irwin and Drew McWeeny. But the draft overall, kind of like a B.
Yeah, just first we want to give everyone a shout out in the chat, and also just to remind everyone, obviously super chats are open, and all the $10 Patreons, jump in via the Discord because we'll be bringing you on to ask your questions to NerdChronic. So everyone get ready soon. Yes, my overall draft. So with this, I was so this was quite obviously they came in early. So I remember I just made like a cup of tea, obviously English, right? So I made a cup of tea. I was sitting down and I heard Sam doing this pick. I heard Amari Moses. I was like, what? And I like spilt the cup of tea. I was shocked, like actually shocked. Like I was definitely expecting him to get drafted, but not that early. It was complete shock. Well done to the brother. He's absolutely smashed that. So yes, like I was aware of this guy about 6 months ago. Me and Colin had a production meeting with our other producer Mike Shea, who's in the chat, and he explained to us in that meeting, he goes, he was looking really sad and he was explaining that I've just got whooped in a fan league match, and I was like, oh okay. And then he posted it on his Facebook a couple of days later. I checked it out. That guy can play. Like he stole all of Mike's round 2 questions, and he kind of landed his own. He went perfect in his own, and he KO'd Mike, who plays in like 3 fan leagues currently. So he's good. Trust me, the motherfucker can play. Trust me, he's solid. So yes, anyone wants to know, watch Mario Moses against Mike Shea, that fan league match. You see how good the guy is. Yes, and Marie Wilson, obviously, and friend of the show. She's the current reigning Dragon Con champ. Beaten Thomas Harper, beaten Alex Damon, beaten everyone else who plays there, of course. Stacey Howard, she's just kind of one of them entertaining favorite players. She'll be an asset in any team. Obviously Jacob Wittenben is fan leaguer. Paul Hauser, of course. We love a bit of Cobra Kai over here, and check us out.
Cobra Kai never dies.
Yes, check us out a review of Cobra Kai on the Pop Culture Universe. Yes, love that. Frankie Alvarez, again, he's obviously a YouTuber. I want NerdChronic to tell us about him. I don't personally know him. Paige is obviously a rookie. Nikki DiMolanta, yes, definitely soft spot for the DiMolantas. Everyone wants to see them against the Damons. She has a she's got such a good fun banter and personality as well. So I kind of watch her be on the Schmoedown with the other DiMolantas, Andrew DiMolanta, of course. Yes, they're great. So overall, solid picks here. I mean, the 4 and 5 were like super surprising for me, and then the rest were kind of like sensible-ish picks. But I want to see definitely what Paul Hauser's got. But Amari Moses, definitely that was a shock of the round.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. This to me is just smells of Stacey coming in and really being the MVP of this team. Because now you got a chance for, Ethan and Drew and Liz, there's so much potential here. There are players who have been so close to that moment. NerdChronic, I'll throw it over to you. Your overall thoughts of the usual suspects. Like, who really stuck out to you of like, oh, that's a nice place for them?
Yeah. I will say I was kind of hoping Janine would get picked up because I would have loved to see Stacey and Janine on a team together. I think that is like something that we've kind of needed and like deserved set for years now, but fortunately we didn't get that, but still we'll get to that in a little bit with Janine. Amari Moses going first I think was such a surprise. It really took me for a loop. Hey Shug. It took me for a surprise because I knew he had been highly touted. I didn't think that he would go as the first pick for Sam. It was a shock. It shocked me very much. I think it's the first kind of shock of the night. And then Mary Wilson as well. Again, we've been seeing her make her rounds on the after shows and all the stuff talking about her involvement. And every time she comes on, I think she's quickly right away getting more and more confident with her position in the game and like understanding it. I know she's won Dragon Con last year, so like that's something she can carry into this, like very much so, just like this huge energy. So I think she's like fantastic to bring into the league. I think she's gonna, once she gets comfortable enough, she's gonna be a star, like absolutely. And then Stacy, I love Stacy so much. I think Stacy is like one of the most underrated players we have in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of showmanship. Like she just brings it every time. She brings it like great entrances, she brings great energy, great humor, jokes, like smack talk, everything. Like she is just like almost like a perfect player to me, like a perfect competitor. Not necessarily she's like the the like belt, like the toughest champion or whatever, but she is like a perfect, well-rounded player to have for the show. And I think she's like a great example everyone should try to emulate. Jacob Winfin, I'm not familiar with. Again, like another rookie that I'm sure Sam did his homework on. Paul Hauser. I think we all know who that is, obviously. I know he's been a fan of the show, so I'm excited to have him involved again. Frank Alvarez, who I had mentioned before, is like he has a very successful podcast called The Basement Yard, and he's in the space of like podcasters and like kind of personalities that was a fan of the show. And once he had the opportunity to be involved, Christian asked him, he's like, yes, absolutely, I'd love to be involved. And he brings a big audience. He does, and he brings like a lot of like personality and flair and like edge to him, which is great. I think like the show will be improved by his presence. I think he's gonna excel very well, and I think he's a fun guy to have around. I know again, my friends Iman and Abby, they're big fans of him, so like they were happy to see him get drafted, and I think it's gonna be like a fun guy to have around. Paige, I know Paige is also like very highly touted, and she's like making the round as well, and like I'm happy to see her involved. And Nikki, particularly, I know it was a surprise to see Nikki be involved in the draft because people have been saying for a long time, like, hey, like maybe you should get into Star Wars too, because like she helps Andrew train and she retains a lot of that information. So people have seen her like, why don't you get involved? And she was like, like maybe not. Like I don't know if I'm like want to go that far. And I'm glad to see her. She put her foot she threw her hat in the ring, and I'm very, very happy she got picked up. I was like a bit bummed when it didn't see her get picked up right away. And like, so Sam to take her makes me very, very happy. So I before all this, as soon as she was announced, I went back and watched her play along Whitworth versus Knapsack. If you haven't seen that, go watch it, because she like wipes the floor with both of them. Like she beats both of them like very easily in terms of just like answers, and she hadn't seen it before to play along. And so I think that's a good example of like what to expect from her knowledge. Like she knows this stuff very well, and she helps Andrew train. They help train each other, and like it's a shame that they're not on the same faction, but like I'm sure they will still help each other get better and make sure all their corners are covered. And Doug Benson, as we said, I was happy to see him brought back, because I like Doug Benson a lot. And I was really bummed that he didn't get to play last year after he was drafted in free agency. So to have him back, I hope he does get a chance like very early on to show like what he can do.
Absolutely. So I'm going to throw it over to you, because this team really seems like they're going to be overlooked. That's kind of the situation they were in last year. Do you think that's going to be how we see the usual suspects this year?
Well, when I looked at this draft, like no offense to the men on this board, I love it, but I'm looking at the ladies here. Obviously, Liz Shannon Miller is a stayover from the free agency. Love her. She's my girl. I rooted for her so much last year as swag. Then Marie Wilson. I actually thought she was going to go in the first round as well as a Star Wars competitor. Glad that was a great pickup. Dragon Con winner. Friend of the show. We saw her on here. She was doing great with the questions that I gave her, so gave her a little prep in there. Stacey Howard, bracket buster. We've seen her beat some legends of this game, so I can't wait to see who she's going to defeat this year. What legend is she going to take over? And then Nikki DiMolanta. I think she might be the ace of this year. Ace was 10th round last year for swag. No one really thought he was going to do well in the Star Wars tournament. Everyone kept choosing everyone else before him. He was upset city that entire time. That could be Nikki, because if you do watch her play alongs on Drew DiMolanta's and Nikki DiMolanta's YouTube channel, she knows her stuff. And if you look at how well Drew is, who's the one training with him? That's Nikki. So I'm so excited that Nikki is part of the Schmoedown. I can't wait to see her in Star Wars. I think she's the ace of this year.
I cannot wait until we are done talking about Molly, when we can talk about Molly Damon and Nikki DiMolanta and not mention their husbands. I cannot wait because I cannot wait for these competitors to really get more time. That's why I needed more of Molly last year, because Molly has the chance to break out and be a star, and so does Nikki, and they need that. I would love that so much. For if Molly said, or the joke was last night that the belt doesn't even have to move houses; it just has to change sides of the bedside table. So I think that's the thing going forward this year. Boggs, you take a look at this Usual Suspects roster up and down. You really top heavy, and then you're bringing in some people who not a whole lot of experience on this other side, other than Stacey Howard. Mike Shea, our producer, pointed out saying that Stacey is the most senior member of this team. So is that?
Sorry, Drew McWeeny is actually the most senior member.
Drew, is he? The same season or one season?
Drew McWeeny came in a season prior to Stacey.
Just a season prior. Okay, cool. Yeah. Got me. If there's anyone to check me, I would just rather be you. That I'll take that all day. And so you have that there, Boggs. So it's Drew and Stacey's kind of there in the backing up. She's kind of backing up the bench. Like, what do you do with them?
Well, Eric, go ahead. I see you're biting at the bit. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, yeah, I was just going to say, I wanted to clarify that, like I saw in the chat as well, that Drew has the most seniority. But I also wanted to say, like, you know, in terms of that, that I think Liz, Drew, and Ethan are interesting top picks because, like, they're good examples of what I've always said with, you know, with the kind of players that we get in this game. There are players who have like great strategy, but then also players that have like, you know, raw knowledge. And like Ethan, Drew, and Liz, like they have just raw knowledge across the board, where like they power through these games. Where I think when they came in, they didn't really know like how this game worked at first. Like they just came in with like what their knowledge was, and that's what kept them afloat for so long. Ethan, I think, has luckily now shored up his game. Liz as well, working under Winston, and Drew as well, just being a team champion for and such a mainstay in the game for so long. It's interesting to see that these are such just powerhouse players. I'm very curious what the team amongst those three will be. Like I think the first answer everyone wants to say is Ethan and Drew, but I would love to see Ethan and Liz just because I know they're close friends and so they have a rapport with each other. So I really think like those are two options that Sam's going to really have to look through, because I really think that Ethan would, if he had a choice, would want to be a team with Liz, and I think that that's something to consider.
And you got
I want
Stacey,
Ethan and Liz together as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be such a great thing, especially because Ethan brought Liz in. So I agree with you on that point. I want Ethan and Liz.
Yeah. Obviously, the friends is quite well known, but and then of course Drew can go with maybe Stacey or someone else. I mean, looking at the list, that's what you would think. But yes, I think we move on to our shout out to Amari Moses in the chat. Thanks for popping in. I think we're going to move over to congratulations on your first round pick, man. You absolutely smashed that. But yes, shout out to LGR in the chat as well. We'll get you guys on at some point as well, no doubt. Yes, so now we are going to the Rockstars. So yes, the bit of a so I'm going to be honest, I don't know some of these picks personally. So, we kind of discussed beforehand. Of course, the top heavy guys, Jeff, Mark, Alex, of course, current champs in teams and Star Wars. Brandon Hanna, I thought was an interesting pick first, multi-division player. That was a good shout. Zach Burkett, of course, he's obviously seems to be there. Star Wars apprentice kind of thing, if that makes sense, under Alex. But again, he's mentioned he can play in some other divisions as well. But Janine, I don't know about anyone else, but it's a big season for Janine. So she's got I really would like to see her be pushed towards championship level this season. She's got the experience now. Now I think she's got the manager to kind of manage her or woman manager, if that makes sense, for her title run, in terms of who she can be paired with, in terms of training, things like that, because she's with Jeff and Mark and things like that. She's got a good kind of in singles, obviously she's got Brandon and Alex in a geek to now, so she's got a good kind of training camp there now. So definitely looking out for that. Obviously Jacoby is fan leaguer, shout out to him. He's done well. They got picked quite high. But Felix Morit, friend of the show, obviously half Englishman as well. So shout out to him. He pulled some quite tough questions that we laid out to him. So I was quite impressed with him. Well done to the guy. And obviously Ken and Jeff, I don't know personally the bar Stool Sports guys. I don't know. These guys told me beforehand what it is. Never heard of the show before. Obviously, I'm from the UK, so not familiar to me. Christina again, Fan League. Love to see the Fan League 4 getting all picked up. And Brittany Young, I think Brittany Young is really decent, and I would like to see her how far she can go. Obviously, she did. She's got. I believe she's 1 and 2 now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, I would like to see how far she can be pushed. Like how would she do in a tournament, that kind of thing. So yes, obviously we know she's a star and stuff. So let's see how. Obviously not literally. I mean, she's an actress. So let's see how available she is. But yes, I definitely want to see her play because I was quite impressed with her against Jericho. But yes, we'll go to Eric first. Thoughts on the stars, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rookies and kind of names that you might not be familiar with on here. And yeah, I'm not sure what. I'll say this first. I'm not sure what kind of research Roxy did on them to justify why they're being placed here. But however, I will quickly flip that back and say whoever they are, I do trust Roxy as a manager for them, specifically for Janine and the people that we do know, because I do think that Roxy is a super underrated manager. If we could underrate managers, Roxy would be the one, to me, because she really is a manager that, a great example is the speech that she gave to Snyder when he was facing Ethan, and he was down and out going to round 3. And Roxy gave him that fantastic, fourth quarter speech to him to kind of get his head back in the game. And that's the type of thing that Roxy brings to this. The managers, people, at first ask what do managers do exactly? Do they just stand there and talk? Do they help study, whatever? And every manager has a different approach. And so Roxy, to me, has one of the most important aspects of a manager, which is that she is someone who will be in your corner, no matter what. It doesn't matter, through thick and thin, even when you might be in the wrong, she will be in your corner. She's gonna double down and make sure that you're supported and feel comfortable every step of the way. She fights for her people, and I think that's such an important thing for this game in particular, where people it's high tension. It's high tension. People get in their heads. People get freaked out. People get stressed, and that type of thing. You need someone who is a steady foundation for you to make sure that you have everything you need to be comfortable. It's the outside world is just shut out, and Roxy does that for her competitors. She makes sure that they have their head in the game and nothing is going to bother them, and that they are ready to go 100% at their full capacity. I just think that she deserves some recognition for that. And I just want to say that first before anyone starts to criticize her decisions here, because I think whoever she has, she's going to be in their corner. And that's the biggest most important thing I think you have for this roster. They are lucky to have her as a manager. I really think so, because they're going to have her support. And that's a very important thing to have. That being said, Janine, I think it's a great pick for her, because I think Janine needs that. I think Janine is again, such a legend in the game. But I think that she has always needed the kind of foundation of someone to kind of help her excel and push to the next level. I think Roxy is the person that can do that for her. And she's going to be in her corner to make sure she does that. I think we saw that with Stacy last year. They were a good fit. I think this is also a perfect fit for the two of them. And yeah, I mean, her sticking with going with Brandon Hanna as her first pick, that's a big role there, because I think Brandon's a really serious IG player that you can have that you can have going into this thing, and he works hard. He works hard. He really took Alex Damon to the limit in the IG tournament, and he took Chanju to the limit as much as he could. And I think he's hungry. He's hungry to do more. I think Roxy sees that. I think it will be kind of an odd couple scenario, just because again, because they're oil and water. I think they are, but I think it'll be very fun to watch. And Jeff, Mark, Alex, I mean, those are obviously obvious picks that she has. And again, that just proves her loyalty that she has to her competitors. And people call that a fault. I call that a strength, because people know that her competitors know what to expect from her. And they don't have any question about what they can expect going into any match, and they know she's going to be in their corner. It's just funny to me. I think the funniest thing is that she essentially swapped Brittany Young with Chris Jericho for Kaiser. So I don't know. I think Brittany will be also a fun pick for her. And I wonder maybe if we'll see a trade there, because obviously this whole thing with Jericho is going on. Maybe we'll see Kaiser and Roxy, for the betterment of the league, trade them back to their respective spots so we can see them both play.
Great shout. Yeah, very, very well could be. But shout out to Jeremy in the chat. I would love Hannah to go team up with Janine. That's a great shout. As a bit of random pairing there, but both kind of maybe similar strengths potentially, but yes, definitely a good shout. But yeah, before I give it to Sol, gotta say, like, this notion that Roxy isn't a good manager. I mean, she proves it. How many times did she prove it last year with Jeff? Like, in gameplay, like her, I love the way she does it. Even obviously Kaiser didn't work out for him a lot of the time enjoying the season, but his in-game play, his management, the talks that they give, it's on point. Obviously, we know Coy's good at that. We know Winston. We know Shannon's good at that. But these guys are the underrated ones. So I definitely love Roxy, particularly in-game play. She definitely has sexy numbers. That is a fact. But yeah, Sol, go ahead.
I was going to just echo you guys on, I don't understand why anyone thinks that Roxy's a bad manager. And if there was an award for best speech, it would definitely go to Roxy, because how many times has she had to bring Snyder from the edge? Snyder's there in the game. He gives up on himself a little bit, even though he says a bunch of times, I never give up. But you can you see it. And Roxy's always believing in them, no matter how far down they are. She's such a great manager, and I love her for it. And speaking of Brittany Young, Chris Jericho swap, we also have the Janine and Stacey Howard swap between Stars and Usual Suspects. And I think this is a great place for Janine. Not that Sam wasn't there and behind Janine last year, but I think Roxy might be the manager that Janine needs for this to be the year of Janine. And I believe so much in Janine, and she has so much potential. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for Janine just to come out and be the true star that she is, because she is a star. And then I like Brittany Young there at the end. I think she's a great player. I want to see more from her.
Yeah. I just want to say that, I agree that Janine, being with Sam last year, I think was a good fit for her, specifically because she also had Rachel in her corner, which I know they're good friends, and like Rachel really, really wanted to see Janine excel. I think that I'm the biggest thing because of the mock drafts, I'm most bummed about Janine not being on a faction with Vinny, because then we could have gotten the Ice Machine as a team.
Yeah, Boggs, you're muted.
Oh, I don't know why. I was, yeah. Anyway, sorry. But great shout there. Colin, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I think Janine, which would have been a great teammate with Vinny, just for that name alone.
Nice. But yeah, Colin, go ahead. What's your thoughts?
Are we really going to sit here and not have, we got to have, a civil discourse, though? There's no way that Brandon Hanna's going to play, a first-round draft pick this year. If he does, I'll be surprised. There are other players in this draft that are going to play like first-round draft picks. I don't know. Unless he really comes through in IG, I don't see how he has first round of the draft, like contribution possibilities for a team. It's really going to be hard, especially even in to be first round. You got to be getting me some points. Go out and get me some points. And unless you're coming in here making a wave in singles, in teams, I'm looking at a lot of Jeff Snyder, Mark Andreyko, Alex Dammit. It's going to be heavy. Janine's going to be competing for that IG spot. Don't think she isn't. I think it's going to be really tough there, and I love the end of the draft. I love everything Roxy did. She just lost me with the first pick. And granted, with my biases, you could have said anyone who picked Brandon Hanna would have lost me. But it is what it is, Boggs.
Yes. So, final thoughts, Eric, before we kind of move on to the next segment.
I'll just say, Brandon, I know is hungry, and I think he has a lot to prove to himself and to everyone else. So maybe Roxy appreciates that. I just personally remember the match he had against Alex Damon, in which Roxy was making fun of him for not making his bed behind him. So that's always a memory I'm going to have between the two of them.
Okay, so
absolutely. Yeah, so that's it for this coverage of the draft. Now we are going to move on to a new segment that we've brought on over the last couple of weeks, which has been a lot of fun. It has been a trivia battle between all of the hosts of the movie of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. Sol, the librarian, has been absolutely fantastic. But before we get to our trivia match, we're going to take a slight pause in the action because there's a fourth host to this show, folks. If you're unfamiliar with the show, John Barr, one of the finest characters on the interwebs, is going to be joining us always when he can. So if the producers backstage wouldn't mind, please roll John Barr's thoughts on how this draft went.
Hello and welcome to my segment on the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. It's me, John Barr. I was going to be part of the regular episode. I was totally available to record with everybody, but then I heard the news. John, aka me, is getting his own segment on the show, and I was so excited about that, get my own little opportunity here to shine. Very excited to have me, John, and my own segment, talking a little bit about what we saw in this latest draft. The faction that made me sit up in my chair the most out of this draft would have to be the Dungeon. Obviously, they came into this strong, already having Merle, Bateman, and Parker on their draft, and then managing to pick up people like Mark Knopic, Molly Damon, Video Drew. Really polished looking squad. But they also had the most surprising pick for me, which was drafting Chris Jericho, because that's one of those picks where I don't super get the logic. Obviously, on the one hand, there is this argument that he just won't want to play if it's not with Roxy. We've heard about these kind of rumblings with various players. You know, some people are saying that's part of why Marisol wound up going over to Shannon. So it doesn't make sense to have him as a player actually on your roster. But then if you kind of look at the Stars roster currently and try and think about what trades Kaiser might be angling for by having Chris Jericho to do a deal with Roxy, I, again, don't really see exactly what he's going for. Maybe he's hoping to get Brandon Hanna, because obviously he had all those lovely little cut scenes for the off-season. Maybe he wants to get Janine the Machine to pair up with one of his other folks. There's just a lot of questions right now going on with Jericho. This is just one of those picks where I'm like, especially with a faction that's looking so polished, I don't know what's going on here. Meanwhile, my favorite pick would have to be Swag picking up Eric Zipper. Swag picking up a lot of known faces, and as someone who doesn't always have the time to watch all the minor league matches, I'm very sorry, gang. But this was a really interesting pick to me. Obviously, yes, Winston and Eric do have that history. Eric is somebody that we've seen get consistently better and better as he's been doing this game. Obviously, a lot of that you can attribute to being under Kaiser's management. But after looking at last season, it's very clear that Winston is no slouch. So it's going to be interesting to see these two paired back up together again. It's also interesting to see that the loose cannons team of Eric Zipper and Paul Oyama could be coming back together, especially if Lon does run off with his brother into the beautiful sunset. Who knows? There's a lot of fun possibilities that come from this faction that's got me very excited about Swag, and it all starts with drafting Eric. And then I'm not going to say the worst faction draft, but I'm just going to call it the IDKBAT, I don't know about all that, draft of any faction would have to be the Finstock Exchange. I'm sorry, Outlaw Nation. I'm, of course, referring to my YouTube channel, Outlaw Nation, where I post fan cams of America's Dumbest Criminals. I think that Finstock had a pretty solid three-person outfit going into this draft with Roka, JTE, and the Barbarian. However, with only having a few seasoned veterans of this game and then a whole bunch of unproven rookies, this faction's kind of looking like the Dungeon last year when they had Kevin Smets, Eric Zipper, and then a lot of folks where it wasn't exactly clear how good they were going to be. Obviously, I don't have Dagnino's 700-page dossier. There's just a lot of folks on this list where I'm like, you just don't have enough proven quantities to balance out so many unknown quantities that you're kind of setting yourself up for a big failure. And I know his logic is, oh, we're not picking anybody that has any losses on their record, in which case you also might want to look into maybe getting rid of this one player on your team named Tom Dagnino. He's got a few. Now, with everything said and done, there are a lot of factions that I like here. I like Swag, I like Corruption, I like the Den, but if you ask me for my number one pick for Season 8, it is gonna be the Dungeon. It's the perfect combination of seasoned veterans and former champions, mid-tier players who just need that one push, that one big match to really put them on the map, and then the people that we've seen little to or sometimes none of in their various divisions or in the game as a whole that makes this faction so exciting. I'm getting the same kind of buzz and excitement for this Dungeon that I got from looking at last year's Swag roster. And look at how close they came to being Faction of the Year. I got this close with my pick. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the draft. If you want to see and hear more about the things that I think and do, you can follow me at John Barr Tweets on Twitter and Instagram, twitch.tv/John Barr, where I get up to all sorts of shenanigans, and then you can also check out my YouTube channel. That is linked to there somehow. I forget the exact URL. It's clunky and bad. I'm also on TikTok now, at John_Barr. I have one TikTok, and it was okay. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on my specific segment for my show here on my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be doing this every single week. Hello, producer Sean, you've got a call for me. A different John, you say. You said what about my ears?
Oh man, why we gotta bug the man like that? Don't be calling the man in the middle of his act. We miss you, John. We can't wait to see you next week as we get the whole squad ready. Speaking of ready, like I teased before, it's time to get down with a little inner geekdom trivia for the man himself, NerdChronic, and a little segment we like to call. And this week, I guess it's Can You Beat a Schmo? Are you smarter than a Schmoedown editor? Usually it's Are you smarter than a Schmoedown competitor? But this week, are you smarter than a Schmoedown editor? Soul, the librarian, take it away. Tell the folks how it works.
So I have 5 questions here in the Inner Geekdom division. I will be telling you the category, the question. I'm going to go through. You guys know pretty much how it goes, movie trivia, Schmoedown wise. So, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Real quick before you guys start, great show so far. I just want to remind the folks that the super chats are open. A lot of people are asking in the chat how to donate to the show. Just super chats for this show. So if you want to support the show, put in the super chat. The NerdChronic will answer your questions. And once we're done with the trivia, we'll ask NerdChronic some questions, and we'll bring the $10 patrons from the Schmoedown in live. And if we get to $100, I will put the link in the chat, and any fans that aren't a patron of John Rokas can come in and ask NerdChronic any questions, or any of the hosts any questions. So continue on.
A nice little stop there by our producer, Sean. Thank you, Sean. But back to the match here. I have a feeling NerdChronic is going to win on this. It's typically
we'll see.
Colin and Boggs fighting for second.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not, like I told Sean, I'm not in fighting shape like right now. It's like I enjoy these movies very much, but I haven't done my studying in a good while. So I'll do my best.
After the first time, I tried to make them a little easier because apparently I came in way too hot the first time. So let me know what you guys think of the difficulty afterwards in the chat, and in the comments below if you're watching this afterwards in the replay.
Yeah, play along in the chat. Let's see what you got, guys.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah, one quick thing. You guys can play along in the chat, and everybody can just move over to the private chat. I know, no one's going to cheat.
I hit the private chat. I hit the private chat.
I know how that works.
Yeah, NerdChronic knows how that works. NerdChronic.
Yeah.
All right. So in the category of Marvel, what is the name of the school Miles goes to in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Colin?
No.
Boggs?
No idea. I said New York High.
NerdChronic.
Visions Academy.
Brooklyn Visions Academy. So close.
Brooklyn, specifically not the Queens Visions Academy.
Not the Queens Visions Academy. Yeah.
Good
All
guess.
right.
Good
guess.
I still have a chance.
In the category of Middle Earth, who voices Smaug in The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug?
NerdChronic, what's your favorite franchise in Inner Geekdom?
5,
Probably Lord of the Rings.
4, 3,
Interesting.
2,
Take note,
One.
guys.
He gets this right.
Boggs.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Eric.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Correct. Colin.
Take me to your mind library, Benedict Cumberbatch.
All right. And now in the category of Star Wars.
Oh, man.
In The Last Jedi,
Oh, boy.
Why can't Maz Kanata help Poe, Finn, and Rose help break into the First Order, lead Destroyer, and instead suggest for them to go to Canto Bight to find a Master Coder? Master Codebreaker, sorry.
I think I remember this. I'm right on it. I'm either right on it or I'm so off.
I'm trying to get the phrasing that she used.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a tricky
5,
one, isn't it?
4, 3, 2, 1. Eric,
She's dealing with a union dispute.
that is correct. Colin.
Yeah, she's settling a union dispute.
Boggs.
I just said secret mission. No, I didn't have it. I saw it in the chat as I was writing. I was like, oh, I haven't got time to change it. Please do. Yeah.
All right.
What do you mean
and
you're looking at the chat?
I mean, yeah, I was doing it Dagnino, wasn't I? Yeah.
In the category of Harry Potter, what broom does Sirius Black gift Harry at the end of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban?
Easy. It's not easy. No, Connie. I absolutely hate Harry Potter, so I have no idea.
5, 4, 3, 2,
It's Tushka.
1.
No idea.
Colin.
Okay, you know I got to comment on this, right? Because you know the first thing I said walking out of that movie was, Sirius doesn't buy him the broom in the book. You know, he don't buy his broom in the book. But he buys the firebolt, the fastest broomstick on the planet.
Boggs.
I kind of don't want to say it. I said a blue broom. I don't know why.
NerdChronic.
Is that accurate? Is it even blue? Is it?
I have no idea what I'm saying. Like, I have no idea.
It's just brown. It's brown like every other broom. It's a firebolt.
Correct.
If that was blue, I'd want a point for that because that was a random guess. So.
It's a piece of wood.
I'm close, guys. Close-ish.
Okay, and for the last question, in the category of MCU, what is the name of the missile that Tony Stark presents to the military in Afghanistan in Iron Man?
Yes, I at least tied NerdChronic. Let's go.
I would have gotten that first one if I just put Brooklyn. Like, damn, they had the difficult part of the name in it.
5, 4,
This was not a good idea.
3, 2, 1. Bugs.
I don't want to say my answer. I said Peggy. I don't know.
The Peggy.
Eric.
Jericho.
That's correct. Colin.
I present to you the Jericho.
Yeah.
And every Jericho missile comes with patented Stark Industries drink set. Comes with every purchase of 100,000 or more.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a tiebreaker since Colin and NerdChronic are. Sorry, Boggs. This is just for Colin and NerdChronic.
You can go back to the
You
chat.
can play along if you want. Okay. In the category of mixed bag,
I want to challenge that. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
in Men in Black, what was Agent K's original first name before joining MIB?
Right, answers out the chat, guys. I see you, Tushka. Stop with the answers in the chat. So yeah, anyone who's a $10 Patreon, jump in the get the link from the Discord. We'll be bringing you guys in to ask NerdChronic his questions.
5, 4,
Oh no.
3,
Use a repeat.
2,
Repeat.
1.
I don't know.
NerdChronic.
A repeat wouldn't even have gotten it for me.
Oh.
Take it away.
I had to guess on this one. I blanked down who for some reason I mean blanking on who's who. It's I just put John Doe.
Incorrect. Colin.
Yes, I live to find another day. I was gonna say Jerry. I don't know why I was gonna say Jerry, but like
Okay, it was Kevin.
Kevin.
Agent K.
50 Shades of Geek. Christian Harloff. Who's his answer? Good answer.
Okay, let's see this tiebreaker in the category of Star Trek.
No,
What?
I'm out.
What MCU actor has a small role as George Kirk in 2009 Star Trek?
Well, that's easy.
I think we need another question.
That's obviously my least favorite of these brothers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eric.
Chris Evans. Just kidding. Chris Evans.
Correct. Colin.
Pay them the money, Paramount. I want to see Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth on the screen at the same time. Pay them the money.
True.
Okay. In the category of DC,
Can't believe I got the Star Trek question right.
what is Halle Berry's character's name in 2004 Catwoman?
Oh, good question. Who's in the chat? Gone? Who's gone perfect in the chat? Anyone? Keep this answer out. Let them know they're both struggling. Great question, Sol. Good 5 point in this one.
Yep. I'm out.
5,
You said that a few times,
4,
Colin, but still in, so I think it's mind games.
2,
Oh wait.
1.
Repeat the question.
Okay. Let's go. What is Halle Berry's character's name in 2004's Catwoman?
Mike Shea, do you know the answer?
Do you want the first and last name or just the first name?
First and last.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm either like really right or really wrong.
If you're close,
Slow.
I'll take it.
Gosh.
I think I know it.
I mean, all right. I got it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tense.
Colin?
It's definitely not Selena Kyle, or else it's Selena Kyle.
No. NerdChronic?
Is it Patience Phillips?
That is correct.
Really?
NerdChronic wins.
You still got it. You still got it, no credit. You still got it.
Yeah.
Well done, man. Well done.
I'll take that sub point, whatever, on Visions Academy. I'm so proud I pulled Visions in that. Yeah.
And the Spider-Man one at the first question. You got half of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm just mad I didn't hear, I wasn't, the internet didn't exist for nerds to go on the internet and hold on, I can put the glasses on and they'll be like, her name is Selena Kyle in the comic books. And they
It's
changed
at
the
least
name. But,
that's the smallest problem with that movie.
oh, exactly. Exactly. That's the,
Hey, Colin, you got a Star Trek question right.
I got a Star Trek question right. I'll take it. Look,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do whatever I can here. I'll take that because that's a win for me in my book. You said MCU actor, and I was like, oh, Zoe Saldana, Idris Elba, Zoe Saldana, and oh no, Chris Hemsworth, yay! I got
There you
it.
go.
All
There you
right.
go. So,
Thank
I,
What was that, Buck?
No, I was going to say, before we get the Patreons in, any questions for NerdChronic? So I'll go first. So do you okay, so tell me, here at the Ultimate Schmoedown Show, we like to have tough questions. So who is your favorite faction now in terms of, who do you think drafted well and who do you think drafted the worst?
The worst? My favorite, in terms of just their draft, I really do like, Corruption. I'm very close with the Dungeon. I think they have a lot of potential, but like the Corruption draft, I just think, like I said earlier, I think just has like the best potential to like really excel. I think they all ran each other out very nice. Like there's no learning curve. I think any of them need to like get over, like to like just to jump in. Like they could play tomorrow, and I think they do it great. And so I think that's a big thing to take into consideration. In terms of like worst, like there's like I don't think anyone did like particularly bad. They were just like, I'll say that first because like compared to last year, I think everyone was still learning how to do this last year. Like this year, I think everyone like had their ducks in a row. I think everyone had like a decent draft to like really know what they wanted to do with their faction. I will say like the one again because I touted her so highly earlier is like I will say Roxy has like I think the most questionable in terms of like what she's gonna do with them. But that's only because like they are unknowns. Like like the same thing could be said for like Finstock. Like Finstock, I think it's the fact that he went with like just unknowns makes it like at least consistent. Or like okay, like he's clearly going for like some sort of like very like unique strategy here. With Roxy, we have like a handful of unknowns. I don't know like what to expect from them. So like it will lie mostly with like her ability as a manager to like really make them to build them up. So like she's gonna have a lot of work on her hands. I think she's too, but she's ready for it. So I think that's kind of like the closest thing I could say to like a bad draft. I wouldn't call it bad per se.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't mean anyone had a bad draft. I just thought controversial.
Oh,
Question.
I'll say it. It's fine. You guys don't have to say it. It's fine. It's cool. I get it. I'll say it about some people, but you guys don't have to.
But go ahead. So, what's your question for NerdChronic?
So my question for you is, if copyright wasn't a thing, what music would you use for your dream promo, and who would be in that promo?
Good question.
Oh, that is a good question because like there's so many songs I love and like I listen to like and when I hear I'm like yes like this like it gives me ideas like what I want to do for like a promo for like a trailer and one that I kept I would use early on as like heavy inspiration was the song Hold On I'm Coming like like the hold on, like that song, but it was like a more. I have a version of it that I like. It's like a more like orchestral, like larger version with like a bigger like choir and like vocals on it. And it's like very
with the ba da ba 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 da ba
yeah
ba
that,
da ba. Yeah.
that one, yeah. And it's like I think they used it once for like a commercial for like Battlefield or like PUBG or something like that. And so I thought about that for like a long time. I was like, man, I wish I could use like that specific song for like a promo in the Schmoedown. I would love to do something like that. Just any of those songs that have like these kind of like big, like orchestral like versions, even like covers of like big things. That's like popular now. I think would be very fun to use for the show. Yeah, it's a shame that, but I'm very happy though. I'm able to find like the music that I do for the promos that we have.
Nice.
And just to settle it for the people at home, I know I've asked you this question before, but Final Cut or Premiere?
Premiere. Yeah.
As
Premiere.
it all should be right in the world. That's the only thing you want to hear.
It's very funny. I see a lot of people like jumping off Premiere lately because of like tech issues. Like I know Adam Lavik just dropped it and went over to Resolve because he was just like having a lot of stalling issues, which I haven't luckily had that recently, knock on wood. But yeah, it's funny, my friend sent me a link to that, like it was like a TikTok saying like, hey, if you want to leave Premiere, like here's what you do to like go to Resolve. And like as soon as he sent me that, I got like a bunch of Premiere ads on my Instagram feed. Like because they're listening, like they're listening to what you're watching, seeing.
Absolutely. And I guess if there's anything, one last question, then we'll get into some questions coming in from the chat. What rookie are you most, I guess, excited for to cut a promo of?
That's a good question. Who was it? There was someone that I said like would
mentioned Beth May before.
Beth May is great. She like her style is good for cutting. Like there are certain competitors like they have like good cadence to like their sound bites and like their thoughts. I think she's like a perfect example of like how I can like cut around like between people. Like the larger personalities like Brother Lomas and Rick Radis I think will be very fun. I'm looking really forward to my good friend Eric Whiteley, because like when I spoke to him about like the promo stuff in it, he was very excited to do that side of the game because he has like VFX background. So he wants to do he wants to make like a big VFX promo and like make it a big and fun like WWE like styles, and so I'm really excited to see what he can do with it.
And it looks to me like we have our first person in the chat who's going to come in and ask a question. And I believe that their name here is just sorry guys for being 2.5 hours late to the show. So let's bring them on. Who might that be? Oh,
I had a perfectly comical name already in place. Brevity is
how's it going? It's John Barr, the fourth host of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show.
That's right. Hello, it's me. Glad to be here. I don't know if you guys also played my segment as well earlier, but I have since been informed that that's actually not supposed to be my segment, and is in fact supposed to be for the other John, Roca. You live and you learn. How you guys? That's my question. How you guys doing? Huh? How are we doing? I just got off a bus that I waited for 40 minutes and opened up a beer, so that's my weekend. How about y'all?
L.A., isn't it?
Oh yeah, NerdChronic, how you doing? Did you have to deal with the traffic today?
Yes, traffic all the way from my driveway to the other end of my house when I take the trash out. But no, it's a great day in LA actually, after like this crazy heavy rain we've had for the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, obviously the weather's all over the place. It's worth noting that I'm wearing this lovely warm jacket in what is probably like 58 degrees. So I've definitely gone soft since living on the East Coast. But yeah.
Hey, it's same here in Miami. The second it dips into the 60s, people are in their winter coats.
Nice. Last question, Chronic, before we get the Patreons in. For Star Wars, right? Loads of rookies, loads of newer players. Obviously, ones that you're friends with, such as Eric. Who are the ones to watch up? Oh, okay, because it's obviously the previous players who played last year as well. Because there's 10, maybe 15 that you could potentially, not 15, but let's say 10 to 12. You could think that you could actually push Alex? Who are the let's say one or two maybe that you are thinking that could go all the way, potentially beat him?
For specifically Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Dragon Con players have a huge reputation that they had to kind of hold themselves up to now. The Star Wars Net people, I mean, I think they're kind of just under that. Like they're a group of people, their own little mini faction of people coming in that I think you have to take seriously because they all want each other to succeed, and so they have that push between one another. And then after that, we have these kind of newer competitors who are fans of the show that I think understand what they're getting into. I think that was the thing, getting to the Star Wars League. We're at that point now with the division expanding in such a great way because people know, okay, this is where the level I need to be prepared to enter. We had a huge learning curve when Alex Damon, buried. I forgot what his name was. John Green, the Rooster Teeth guy.
Bruce Green. My dear former Funhouse friend.
Yeah, when he Alex Damon buried absolutely annihilated Bruce Green because Bruce Green I think was the sacrificial lamb we needed to show that you can't just come into this thing thinking I like Star Wars, I'll play this game and I think I'll be fine. No, Star Wars is its own thing now, and you had to come in with this kind of understanding that you need to be at this certain point to even hang. And so I think luckily everyone that we have now, all the new rookies, are at that level. And so I think everyone is such killer. They're going to give, I think, our pre-existing competitors a run for their money, which is great, which is healthy for the league to grow. I think they're all great people too, and I think they're very fun to have around. But I do think going into the first couple matches we'll have, I do think Andrew DiMolanta, of anyone, is the person destined to be Alex Damon. I think he wants it the most. I think he's worked the hardest for it. And I think from a story standpoint, the stars align, it's his to have. I don't know if that's now, if that'll be his first match coming up to it, but I do think that he has what it takes to eventually do it.
Nice. I think it's that time of the night, Colin.
I think it is. Go ahead, Boggs. Take it away, buddy.
No, just producer Sean, please bring in the patrons. So yeah, try and keep it to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, great show tonight, everybody. I'm sorry you guys didn't beat NerdChronic, but I was expecting NerdChronic to win. Are you good?
I lost by one. I lost by one. That was. I definitely think the spread was 4.5
in overtime, basically, right?
Let's say
I covered the spread. I think I covered the spread.
That vision's full. I got visions.
NerdChronic, are you good on time? We got some patrons ready to come in. You good on time?
Yep.
All right, excellent. So the first patron to come in, he's been waiting the longest. He's a long fan of the show. If you're of the Outlaw Nation channel, so he's been on a lot of times. You know him. We all love him from up north, Mr. Canada Rocks.
Hey, hello,
take the banner
everyone.
Down.
Hello.
Okay.
You can
you can't even see me.
There you go.
Hey, as a member of Outlaw Nation North, welcome to Outlaw Nation in general.
Thank you.
This is great. This is so I'm really excited. Oh, and John, I just want to say, not to scare you, but welcome to your future. There you go.
Wow. You and me, the guard.
And just one quick thing before I get into my question, which is it's an absolute travesty, an absolute disgrace that there wasn't a single Canadian in the entire draft. What the heck is going on? Was there one?
No, I was doing you. You should be the one.
Maybe
I should next year. So anyway, so my question for NerdChronic. So last year, when they went digital, one of the things that they kind of stepped back from was the whole storyline thing. So that kind of took a back seat until the Spectacular, when it kind of came back in a big way. So I assume there's going to be a push this season to get back to it, even if it's going to be digital for most of it. So is that true? And how much of your involvement is going to be? Because I assume that a lot of the storylines will have to be video packages now, as opposed to live kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll be doing digital for the foreseeable future for matches and story stuff. Unfortunately, we're going to make it work the best we can, but at least we have our footing now in the show. So last year, we were on such a pivot, we had to prioritize the game itself rather than the story stuff. Because I know Christian really was bummed about because he loves the storylines. And so when we couldn't film like more of those scenes, I think like he really wanted to bring that back in a big way for Spectacular, like he had said. And so that's why we had like the multiple storylines for each match leading into like what we would have now in the new season. And I think once we get into the groove of like the first, live events we do, like at the Throwdown in February, and then like we get into the tapings after that, we're going to have the ability to have more storylines go on between like the Zoom calls and like the StreamYards calls, because that's what we have like in place. We're comfortable now. We can like make those happen. I can't say like specifically what those may be, but like I know Christian has a handful of things like really cooking up that he's excited about. I mean, it's obviously big things that will carry over from last season as well. But yeah, as far as just getting them done, yeah, we definitely have ambitions to like get those going again.
Oh, great. Yeah, because I really kind of missed that, even though I loved last season. And one last thing before I go is, can you push Christian to get an award next year for best promo, best interview, or something to that effect?
Yeah.
Because I've been pushing it every chance I get on the Patreon, and it's just something that I think is needed.
That was Roka's argument on Schmoebaits against Frank Janish. He wants a best promo award for someone who cuts a great promo during the year, which is hard. There will be great ones. I think I'm glad now that we are able to see people's promos, because like they put them out on social media like in their entirety. So I think it's very viable. It's very viable that could happen, because like we get to see what people put into these things. I think last year it would have been for me. I think one of the ones probably would have been Laura Kelly winning one of those, because her heel turn was just like such a fantastic element in the game. I loved it so much, and so I would be very happy if that were an award to have for next year.
Okay. Well, anyway, welcome again, and I hope to see you guys next week. And greetings from up north. And please don't talk about how crappy the weather is in California, because it isn't. All right.
Hey,
You got it. That's
hey, Rico, before you go, you tweet to John and Roka, that is, and tell him how happy you are that this show is now on his channel. And you tell John that.
I will. I will do that. Okay. Anyway, see you guys.
Thanks, man. Have a nice night.
Bye, Rico. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for stopping by.
Anytime.
All right, that was
the Canadian elephant in the room. We saw in the chat. Chris Jericho is Canadian. Brendan Meyer Canadian as well.
You said draft though, right? To be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, he did say in the draft.
Yeah.
So Jericho was the one.
Basically, yeah, but he's been in the league. I mean, I guess Rico was more or less pointing out maybe new players.
Yeah.
None of them are Canadian, so that's fair.
We've got to look at you got to look at the Great North. The Great North up above.
All right, so our next Outlaw patron is coming from afar out. I'm curious what time it is where he is. 50 Shades of Geek, how's it going? What time is it where you're at?
Almost 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
What's your
How's that
question
girl over there?
Where are you? I've never met you before.
Well, to add to the weather conversation, it's 11 degrees out here. Celsius. But again, 2 in the morning. So take that with a grain of salt. In any case, NerdChronic.
Hey.
The man, the myth, the legend. You're an inspiration, my friend. I mean,
it's good to see you, man. Like I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel and like your reactions. I watch all your reactions and stuff. So I know you work very hard, dude. Like I see all the stuff you're doing, the reactions and everything. Yeah.
This guy's the best. He reached out to me after my dog died. It was the first one that did it. Even my good friends didn't do that. And thank you so much for that. And, to get to my point, as an amateur at what you do, let me just say that, I got to ask a question. Which Schmoedown competitor, manager, faction, team, whatever, who is your favorite to edit? And which one is the hardest? And follow-up question, how has the digital age impacted 2 in the morning impacted your enjoyment of editing? Because it definitely did for me. I did not enjoy editing videos for the digital age.
Yeah. As far as like the best people and to or hardest to work with. It's I mean, I love working with Bibbs' promos just because like he puts a lot of thought and like effort into them. Like he, and specifically when we were in studio, it was like he was very fun to cut around because like he had such like a great cadence and like energy to him. Like he was like fun to like use as setup and like punchline with like other players. Same for like Paul Preston. Like he's like really fun to work with. I mean, Kaiser does the same thing. Like he has like a lot of thoughts about like what he wants to do. He's like very like collaborative with it. And yeah, I think the hardest people like, that I had the person I had a hard time cutting for, not necessarily because of like their content, but because of the way it's structured, was Adam Collins, because he has like great content. Like I love his shtick of like the correction and like the kind of like snobby type of like persona that he has, but his delivery of it doesn't sometimes lend itself to the same energy that you get from like some other competitors. Like you kind of have to like match that. You have to like someone who's like very fast and like high energy doesn't really like mesh like exactly well with like his style. So it's a balancing act. Every time I had to like work with him or like other people. Like I think the same thing I did the same thing for I think Riley and Video Drew's match like that. Their energy was like very different, and it was like kind of hard to find like the balance there. And sometimes that happens, but in particular for like the digital age, like you're saying, like that made it more difficult because like when we're in studio, like I shoot everything, like the matches and everything with my buddy Dwayne Burke. We would shoot all the entrances and like the big moments, the wins, in like high frame rate like footage, so that way I have everything in slow motion and I can use that. It makes it look super cinematic and like very nice for the promos. But now that we don't want to do that anymore, like it's made this year like very strained. Like for me, like I want more footage. Like I wish we had all these great moments this past year, like in studio in like slow motion. Like that would have been like so beautiful and so great to have. But, like unfortunately, I had to like kind of recycle like the stuff that I use, which I'm getting really like strained about. But I'm learning how to use like digital footage like better every day, and like I'm luckily I think everyone's acclimated to it enough where I can use digital matches that everyone like understands that that's just what it looks like now. That's just what the show is now. So it looks like you can. It's not like a veil that you have to kind of see through anymore. It's like it just is what it is. And I think once we get back into studio, I'm gonna be like so relieved to just be able to shoot everything again, like with my camera and stuff, and like make it look nice. And we have like big things planned for like once we're done with digital. Like I will do digital as long as we need to be safe. But once we're done with that, like the show's gonna be like back and like it'll look like better than it ever did. Like I can promise you that.
Can't wait for that. I totally agree with the Collins thing because he's mostly static, except for the correction.
Yeah.
And a complete opposite of that is Bibbs, and he always has these entrances. And I did 2 videos with Bibbs already, and he's just an absolute joy to end it around. And someone completely not Schmoedown related, John Campia. Also, I did 1 video with him, and he's also a challenge because he's just sitting in one place all the time. And I had to intercut it with Harloff, who's always on live stages and doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I can totally see what you're saying there.
Yeah,
so,
it's a balancing act, and like energy needs to match in some fashion.
All right,
you got awesome wallpaper, man, by the way. Good shades.
Yeah, thanks. I love it.
That is awesome.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you,
Thanks, 50. You've been a great addition
Thanks,
to the patron group and all the hangouts. So I appreciate you
Aww.
staying up staying up. I mean, 2 a.m. God. So go get some rest.
When I heard NerdChronic was gonna be here, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh.
I told you we deliver. We bring the goods.
Yeah, we're gonna try to bring the goods every week.
Not the goods, the best.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, thanks, 50. We'll see you in the hangouts.
I do want to say, congrats. Not congrats. Sorry. Great job, man, on everything you're doing. I know. I really appreciate like the consistent amount of work you put into the videos, into the reactions and everything. I look forward to it every time with everyone else in the rotation. Like I say to every reactor, like you guys too, like the show here, like your assessment of like the show is like my motivation to like keep doing it every day and like every week. So like I really appreciate it.
Thanks. And hey, listen, I just had my first fan league match, which should be dropping in the next couple of days. Maybe you're gonna edit me in a couple of days.
Maybe we'll see.
So go ahead and watch me lose. Win. Go ahead and watch the match. So
exactly. Yeah. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. All right. Thanks, 50.
Thank you, man.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Just as long as
Hey.
Snape is still alive at the end of 50's match, then I'm gonna be okay.
Wow.
All right,
Sean,
all right,
before,
so we
you,
got-
before you bring on the next patron, I have a quick question for NerdChronic. That now that you mentioned the shooting, are we upgrading the cameras? Talk to me, Poppy. What are we talking about here?
I mean, it's no secret. This is like public knowledge, I guess. The studio that we were previously at, like which was Collider Studio, that like it doesn't exist anymore. So like we're within that. That means like the equipment too. So we will be starting from scratch. Like once we're back in the live setting. And yeah, you bet like we're gonna aim for the top. Like, we're gonna do what we can with like what's available to us, but like we're gonna like do our best to make it look good, regardless like what camera we have. Like I've already, I already have plans in place with people to make sure that like it looks the best that they can. Like, and just not beyond the cameras, like the actual setting of like what we're planning to do with it, like is going to look different and like very exciting.
Awesome. I can't wait. That's the kind of stuff I like to nerd out with you about. I mean, you and I could go a couple hours on the real nerdy stuff. Like I like to talk about like, ooh, why does the audio crackle in the middle of this video? Like the little stuff. I like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Sean, bring on the next patron. What do they want to talk about?
All right, so this next patron has been on the channel a lot. Sometimes it's actually named after him sometimes. I don't know how that happens, but it does. Mr. Brennan, how's it going, man?
Brennan
Hello,
Nation
everyone.
in the
Hey.
house.
Yes, they keep insisting on changing it to Brennan Nation. Come on, Sean, it's Cheesecake Nation. We all know that. That's really what it should be called.
Hold on now.
I was waiting for someone to bring that up, but okay.
I
good
get the
to meet
cheesecake
those-
reference.
I mean,
Good
it's
to
also
meet
been
those of you
Cheryl
that-
Nation too, so it's gone around.
We've all been Cheryl.
Yes, we
We
all
all
been
changed our name
Cheryl.
to Cheryl. That's right. Well, those of you I've not met, good to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
NerdChronic, I've heard much about you.
Thank you, man. It's good to meet you.
All good things. That I've heard.
Thanks.
So I'm pretty new to the Schmoedown. So I'm just excited to see what's coming up. I was really excited with the draft. I think Sabrina was the one I was happiest to see that she made it. Because she is very knowledgeable. So I know you guys were talking earlier about the person most likely to beat Alex Damon. And you mentioned Di Malanta, and I think that actually makes sense because I watched the match with Di Malanta versus Ace, and I was on the edge of my seat for that one, and Ace beat him. But do you think that gave Di Malanta the drive to try even harder?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even his loss to like Laura Kelly, I think gave him that drive that we saw in the tournament. I mean, that 5-point question he missed against Ace to like in that one Ace the match. That's the only question.
Oh my gosh,
that's the only question he missed like the entire tournament.
That's true.
Like that's the only question he missed. Like that one question, and that's what cost him the whole thing. And so yeah, like like he's going to go back to his notes and like check every nook and cranny in like every movie to make sure he knows it all. And yeah, I think he is like the most motivated competitor that we have because he's driven by loss. Like when he thinks he should have won. Like I think reaching the mountaintop like that closely like is like the kind of fuel that like feeds like him as a competitor. Mm-hmm. Most people, there are others who would take it and like be very diminished by it, and like they would like kind of have a hard time coming back from it. But he is the type of person, very much like Smets, who would take that as like a driving force and turn it into a victory later.
That's true. All right. Well, it's good to meet all of you, and I hope to see a lot of you. I know that I've been doing the fan leagues, so I'll be around.
No, man.
And Sean and Soul know me too well.
Yeah,
But,
we spent a lot of
those
time
of you.
talking. Yeah.
Good to meet those of you that I've not met before, and I hope this is going to be a great Schmoedown season.
It will be.
Thank you, sir.
War!
Thank you.
Good night, Brendan.
Good
We'll
night.
see you in the Hangouts next time, okay?
Yep. All right.
Have a good one.
Eric, I'm curious. Do you have any shots of when Marcus said war from like the old Collider days? Because I know like Mark Ellis used to really emphasize the first line of the Revenge of the Sith. The crawl, and he goes war, and that's all I keep hearing in my head whenever anyone says season 8 war. It's just Mark Riley saying war, so I just need that.
I know what you're talking about, and I thought about that too. Just like I thought about that came to mind as soon as we talk about this season. It's funny because Christian told me the name of this season back in like September, and that was when I was like doing a lot of promo. We were doing like the multiple live events like every week and stuff, and so I had like a handful of songs I was like kind of pairing off to like, okay, I'll make sure I save this for like this match, stuff like this. And the song that I used for the opening promo yesterday for the draft, I had that song since like August, and so I was going to use that soon back in September, and Christian told me the name of the season, and I was like, oh, I have to save it now. I have to save it for the beginning of next season for the opening, because it'll fit so well. And so thankfully, like that was it. So once I was thinking about that throughout the remaining months, like the war thing popped in my head as like a soundbite, but also the soundbite Jason Inman said against Snyder. And Snyder's like,
oh yeah,
Snyder, like, you better get ready for war. And Jason Inman's like, as the only person who's actually been to war, like, let's do it.
I love that. It was so good.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And then we're still, I would have used that soundbite, absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember I tried to find like a screenshot of the crawl, but you can't screenshot Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So you can't you can't get like a real good crisp image of it. Yeah. You got to take a picture of a screen. So unfortunately that's oh well. Sean, bring on the next patron.
All right. So right now we got one left. I don't know if we have time to put the link in the live chat because we've been NerdChronic's been so gracious to spend these over 2 hours with us, so we'll probably take one more live patron. Last but certainly not least, he was active in the chat. He's been on the Outlaw Nation channel before, talking a lot of politics and sports. Mr. Tushka, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's up, man? Welcome to the show. Thanks for being so active in the chat. We appreciate it.
Hey, definitely, man. Yeah, definitely love supporting the nation, and glad you guys are part of the nation. Colin, John, Boggs, Nerd.
Hey, man.
What's up, y'all?
Good to meet you.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. I see you on the Outlaw Nation for a while now, so yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate y'all. So, man, I have like all the questions, all of them, but really, I'll try to keep it fine-tuned to maybe a couple if I can, but real quick though, so Nerd, technical issue or technical question as far as with Streamlab versus StreamYard, because StreamYard seems like it compresses a lot of that sound, and your promos are so effing good, man. And then like it compresses a lot of that audio. Is that something that you think they're going to be able to kind of resolve, or maybe switch to a different format for some of it to just really have that music pop and be a little bit better?
Yeah, without giving like too much like production talk about it, we do have plans, and I think around March or April, like we're going to be switching over to TriCaster feeds, which is like TriCaster is like a professional grade like the machinery that you can use to like stream content live. It's what we would use for the previous live shows for like when we're still in studio. Like we would take it to the road. We would go on to like Chicago, Atlanta, all that. We would have a TriCaster there that would then like feed the production to like the online platform that we're to YouTube and everything else. We would put it on. So Skybound is going to be using that to push everything through onto online once we get that up and running, and we will not be using StreamYards anymore for the live events. So that will just make everything that will be cleaner. That we'll be able to have more control over the graphics and for like the layout of everything, of like how everything looks. So it will be just a higher looking production overall.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, appreciate you kind of divulging a little bit of the behind the scenes. Yeah, that was always like one little technical issue. I'm like, oh man, it's like it just minimizes. But anyways, so big question, and this is for everybody. Like with Movie Trivia Schmoedown, as we're growing, the community and quality-wise now, of course, but we're going to be bringing in a lot more different groups. Some that may not always mesh with the current community. And so, like, for me, I feel like no matter what, us in the chat, we're ambassadors. we are representatives of the movie trivia Schmoedown, even if we're not, paid or even, kind of actually we pay to be a part of the community. But it's just like, there's things that we can kind of do to just be civil, respectful. Sorry if my camera's shaking. And what are like some things that you guys see that we as fans in the chat can do to kind of help maybe calm disputes or just, make it an overall better experience for some of the new people coming in? Because there's going to be a lot of people that don't know the whole like format. They're not going to get some of the, the technical questions or maybe some of the super nerd questions, or they may not even get like, why is John Roca yelling with the cowboy hat? Like, why are we doing all this, hill stuff? But just for everybody, what's something you guys kind of think that, we as fans in the chat can do to help everybody just kind of bring about a better community?
Box, I would love to hear your perspective on like the Chandru situation, because you spoke to this so much last season on how you felt that Chandru was so underappreciated by everybody because he brought a different flavor that a lot of people really hadn't felt before. So how can you kind of re-describe that you gave to us last year? Like, how do you see it going?
Yeah, so Tushka, I think you were shaking because you're really nervous because we're obviously like really big stars and everything. So it's understandable. But yeah,
hey, my hand's steady, brother. My hand's steady.
Hey, there you go.
Quick answer to that is basically for me is that have patience with people. Basically, particularly like with Colin said, I brought up like I didn't particularly. I won't get into it. You can watch our previous episodes, but I don't really sign off on the way that everyone treats Chandru, because he is the most different competitor that we have, right? And for example, like you said, with people coming in different communities into the Schmoedown, right? Whether what side you're on or what your kind of politics are, for me, that doesn't, you shouldn't necessarily judge someone solely on that. It should be, okay, have patience, be polite, respectful, educate them, that kind of thing. But yes, like try not to react so quickly. Like maybe Christian's mentioned that, the last couple of days, anyone's in the Facebook chat or on Twitter and stuff, don't jump on people straight away, have patience and that kind of thing. And just be a good person, man. Like, try and help people as much as you can and that kind of thing. But yeah, I understand it's frustrating sometimes when things are live and that kind of thing. But yeah, it is a tough thing, especially with social media. But most of all, like you don't have to act how they act, don't like bite straight away, that kind of thing. So try and educate them, DM people, ask, refer it to someone else. If someone else can help someone maybe that refer the situation to them, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's about just like having a little bit of a balance thing, really. Like don't like, yeah, just be a good person, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And to kind of like, back on that, I think again it's sort of just looking at like what it seems like folks need. Obviously, kind of the idea of the gatekeeper, obviously in various fandoms, is something that a lot of pushback has been going against. So it's really that kind of thing where you never want to be the guy that's like, oh, so I guess you're friggin' new here. Like, definitely always just be like, look at what the person's kind of like saying. Like, if it's clear like, oh, they're trying to make a joke, then maybe you just like it and move on. If they're like, hey, I do have a specific question, then you can like hop in and try and answer it. Just again, kind of remembering sort of like what Bugs is saying. Everybody's different. Everybody wants different things. Everyone's trying to interface in a different way. So just kind of looking at the way in which you can be the most helpful to whoever it is that's hopping into the community, And obviously, I'm not saying this because there's been any problems, of course. But just we all want to be friends, don't we? Colin, don't look at me like you don't want to be my friend.
I always want to be your friend. You're one of my best friends. You're so great. This to me, and I don't want to. Honestly, I don't even want to speak on this. I want to hear what Soul has to say.
Coward, answer the question.
I think too that allowing for people of different communities to be the fans, sometimes we see some nasty comments that come towards women or towards people of color in the Schmoedown, and kind of as a woman and a person of color who watches the Schmoedown, that can be something that could turn people away. It hasn't turned me away because I know most of the people who are in the Schmoedown are great people and nice people, whether I know them personally or not. And so I think just allowing people to be nice to one another, to let people of different backgrounds come into the Schmoedown, whether it's their fans or their competitors or managers, like treat managers no matter what their gender is or what their background is, the same. Like, we can all be critical. I know earlier today Colin was critical of Brandon Hanna. Like, of course, like that's gonna happen. But
I'm white. He's white. It's all good.
Missed it, John. He went off again. He went off. But anyway.
But you can be critical without going across the line. So I think a lot of times that we see like Roxy or see Shannon or see Kate get treated way worse than the other managers because they're women, and or we'll see sometimes Winston get treated worse because he's black. And I think, and this is again a very small part of the community, but I think that that's something that needs to be changed and something that needs to be addressed going forward. And if you see it happening in the Facebook group, in Reddit, in any of the Discords, call it out. Basically be like, hey, we're not allowing that here in our fandom. We're not allowing that here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. We are a community of love and respect, and this is something we all love. So I guess that's where my thought is on all of this.
Well, like Level 2 Trading says in the chat, being critical of Brandon Hanna is like breathing, and that's something that I can definitely condone, and that's something that will continue to happen on the show. Respectfully,
I missed an entire train, and it's just fully left the station, huh?
Oh, baby, we are at platform. We have left platform 9 3/4, and we are way on our way to Hogwarts on that train.
I was gonna say, Boggs, do you get that reference?
No,
no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, Boggs doesn't understand anything Harry Potter. It is what it is. This community is so unique.
Yep.
We have an opportunity here to create actual change in the way that people speak and view one another. I've been to live WWE events. I have not been to a live Schmoedown event, but I know they look a bit similar. And more along the last few years, the wrestling community and the Schmoedown community have gotten more and more diverse. And I think that is something that has been very, very obvious over the last few years, has been the intent to reach out and to not keep it so even just Schmoville, right? You mentioned other things coming in. We got Barstool. We got all these other points of view coming into the Schmoedown. We just have to listen to one another. But listening and talking are two different things. We have to be able to communicate respectfully. There is a very fine point, and most of the times in these Facebook arguments, where things just slip out of control very quickly, or a hot take or a screenshot of something just sparks controversy. We got to remember that we can still talk to one another. We don't have to yell at each other. I think the yelling is right in some cases, because in some cases some people are just being absolutely out of, they're just absolutely out of line. And you got to, like Soul said, you got to call it out when you see it, because there is a lot of it. But we have an opportunity here for a lot of different people to come together and to be a real unique melting pot from all across the world. When we've seen it coming in all across, competitors coming in from all walks of life. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I really hope that we can, like, season 8 definitely has the opportunity to be the most color spanning season this Schmoedown's ever seen.
Yeah, if
I was
only
just
hadn't
gonna
called
say
it war,
too.
huh?
Like, look at this. Look at the 7 of us here. And like the color here, like Tushka's Native American, Boggs, myself, NerdChronic, Sean, we're people of color because we have John and Colin over there being the white guys. But hey, we need you guys too.
I'm a 16 Cherokee, all right?
Would you like to hear my thoughts on the GameStop situation? I have 4 hours to talk about
Buy
the
doggy
GameStop
coin.
situation.
Buy that doggy coin. Let's go.
No, well, guys, I'm curious to hear what NerdChronic thinks about this.
Yeah, because I mean, as someone who works within the show, very early on, I mean, even from my own standpoint, I knew once I got involved with the show, my opinions and assessments of things need to be need to be held with a professional standard, because I can't, there are definitely things online that I see that I can call out and see it's problematic, but I need to like be respectful. I need to like be appropriate for like the sake of the show and for also the sake of like myself. But I don't ignore these things. Like I don't like overlook them. And like there are instances within like our specific community where like I think like yes, like that can be improved, or like that's not like the kind of thing the right direction we need to be going right now. Specifically, I'll cite the most recent thing that's going on. Like not to like again, I'll articulate myself as best as I can. But like last night, like the big talking point that people had was the fact that the FinStock Exchange drafted like primarily like a lot of men, and like until the last 2 picks, like they didn't have any women on the roster. And like there's always to me the difference between intention and ignorance, like malice and ignorance is what I should say. Is like the intention, like you always have to look at someone's intention of what they're doing and like how they might have wronged you. If you feel wronged, like that's okay. Like you should like not be afraid to vocalize that. If you think like so this thing has personally like offended you, or you think it's wrong, but you also should assess what that person's intention was. Was it done out of malice, or was it done out of ignorance? And like if it's done out of like malice, like that's a different conversation you need to have with that person to like make sure that that kind of behavior is like not accepted. But if it's done out of ignorance, then like I think is a different approach to be taken to make sure that people are then like kind of educated on like why you feel that way, and, like why you think that this is not the appropriate like behavior or approach to be taking this thing in. And so for the FinStock Exchange thing, like I can say like look, like that wasn't the intention. Was like to just draft like all men. Like I don't think like his intention was to be malicious and to not draft women. I think that it was from a marketing standpoint, which is what I am a part of, it is bad optics. If I were to make any sort of critical assessment of it, like look, I would tell him like, look, it's bad optics if you don't draft like women and like your main roster on the live show. Like it doesn't look good, and like that's something to keep in mind, and like that just to keep in mind for the sake of like what the intention you're putting out into the world, and like the kind of like effort, the good like faith that you're putting out into the world. And so when it comes to us, the community, and for like fans of the show and for people talking online and the discourse and stuff, I think there's always a time when you can look at something and think like, okay, like there's new audience coming in, there's new people coming in, and there's always going to be like growing pains and learning curves from what we do. And for the example that I cited with Blind Wave, like everyone coming in from the Blind Wave crew, like I think that community is like genuinely like very like friendly, and like they love each other, like they're very positive. But when they come in, like the Schmoedown is like a tough thing to like get a hold of right away, because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of like shtick to it that doesn't really mesh with like people's kind of like sense of entertainment. And so I think the best way we can to bring in new people to come in and make sure like they foster like a good healthy community, it's like make them feel welcome and tell them like, look, these are the values that we have as far as like what the show is in terms of entertainment value. We value shit, we value characters, we value trivia, knowledge, passion, all this stuff. This is kind of like what it is. And if it's for you, great. Like we'd love to have you here, we'd love to have you involved. If it's not, then hopefully there's an aspect of it that you do. Like people sometimes come in, all they want to do is trivia. Also, sometimes they love the character stuff. Like it's a different thing. There's layers to it. I don't think we should alienate anyone for not enjoying it the right way. I think that's like kind of the biggest thing in any fandom that you should never do, is expect someone to enjoy something the way that you enjoy it. Like everyone has like different levels, like how they take something in. And so if we're able to do that and make people feel comfortable enjoying this thing the way they feel comfortable doing it, then that's when we can step forward and say like, hey, look, we also want to make sure that everyone involved in it is like, since we extended that good hand first, that they understand when we're coming out from like maybe like a more controversial topic. Like, look, we know each other, we have a rapport that makes it easier to tell each other like we want to have a conversation with each other, that we want to make this place like safe and healthy and like friendly to everyone, and like and forward thinking. And so when we have these kind of like controversial things, we can have a discourse, and like maybe eventually there will be change to like make sure that those things are implemented. But like I don't think that there's any room for that if like some people come at it with like just the intention of like this is like wrong, and like I just think that this like there's no like point in like even trying to resolve it. There's no point even trying to like address the issue to like make it better. Like that turns into like things like gatekeeping and just like issues of not like accepting any sort of like discourse or like conversation or dialogue about like how this thing should be fixed. And for me, I usually try to bite my tongue on a lot of things because again, like I just kind of wait and like see how these things are going to turn out so I can like help anyone who may need it specifically. But I do think that for as far as like what Chishka we were asking for, like the fans, I do think that people like the fan shows and like the fan everything who are not involved in the show, like you have like somewhat of a responsibility to just be good people and to make sure that any new fans that are coming in, they lead from your example. They follow from your example, because like they are going to look to like how people are acting in this community that they're coming into. And so if you guys are acting good and friendly and loving, then I think that's going to like foster more love in the community. And I think that's something that everyone here and watching and everyone in the show should always strive for.
Awesome.
Well said.
Man.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said.
Where's the offering bucket? Because I feel like I just went to church. Hey, thank you guys so much. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I echo everything NerdChronic was saying. I know Soul and I were having a talk about this last night and even today about the situation with the FinStock exchange, and the thing that it brought to me, and Soul, I want to hear your thoughts before we move on, is that yes, it's fair to point it out, like, hey, FinStock, you haven't drafted any women on the live show. You can point it out, and I think it's 100% fair to do so. What I don't think is fair is attacking him, because we weren't in those conversations in his war room when certain players were on. We don't know who was on his draft board. We don't know. I'm sure there were women on it. They've already acknowledged that they were. So I can't fault him for just to force pick someone that he didn't want to, if the person he wanted to was already picked. So it is fair to say, like, hey, I agree with NerdChronic. It's not the best look, but I understand he did rectify it a little bit by picking two women in the later rounds. And should those rounds have been televised? In my opinion, yes, but it is what it is. I mean, like, you can't just have long streams all the time. So I get the decision there. But the idea that it's fair to point it out, but I don't think it's fair to attack him because we don't know. Now, if we had all the information, that's a completely different story. But we don't, and I don't think we ever will fully. So that's just my take. Like, we always have to remember, we're all fans of these communities, and we want to make sure that the Schmoedown gets as popular as we possibly want it to, because we want to see this thing rise, and then we can always say, like, yeah, remember when we were like, it was this little thing, and it eventually got to this big thing. Well, if it's going to get to that point, we can't attack the people that are in the show that that are involved in it, because if we attack them, there is no show. So for me, it's just a matter of just like, when we have all the information, you want to point something out, you're totally fine to do so. But attacking one of the people involved without having all the information is a complete not fair. So we just have to be really, really responsible about, like, there's an old saying, when you're in social media, you got to make sure before you hit send, are you sure that's what you want to send? Because once you hit send, it's out there and you can never get it back. So are you really sure you want to attack somebody without having all the information? For me, I wouldn't want to do that, because that attack is out there forever and you can never get it back. So before we move on, Soul, I know you have some thoughts about this. Obviously, as the only woman amongst us, what are your thoughts?
Just going off of what you were saying there, if you want to make a point, you can attack. If you want to make a change, then you need to have a conversation. And so I agree with the fact of that the best way to go forward is to have these conversations and have these dialogues, which I'm appreciative of all of you here. Like, we're here having this dialogue on John Roca's channel. And so the fact that we're having this dialogue is important, and this dialogue needs to happen. And it needs to happen not just with people who feel the way I felt when I watched it, which was I was not happy seeing that the women weren't that he didn't have any women in his draft at the beginning. That was my reaction to it as a female who watches it. But then again, I don't know everything. I don't know the whole story. I'm not going to attack him on Twitter. I may in the future send him something, be like, hey, why did that happen? But it's one of those where I always want to be careful, and I want to be able to have things go forward in a good way, because I want to bridge communities instead of make a divide and make it even more divided, because I think that that's something that we see in too many communities now, is that things are so divided that it makes things hard to be a fan. It makes it hard to be a Star Wars fan. It makes it hard to be an MTS fan. It makes it hard to be a fan of anything. And so I'm so grateful for the Outlaw Nation and for these men that I have around me, because they are willing to have these conversations, and they are willing to have people from all walks of life with all different backgrounds, with all different point of views to have these conversations. So as someone, again, who wasn't very happy with how he handled the draft on the male-female perspective, I am very intrigued with all the rookies that he picked up, and I'm interested to see them going forward. So I guess we'll see going forward. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys so much, by the way. I know that took a lot longer, maybe than you, but
it's a conversation that definitely warranted the length. No worries.
Yeah. I'm always going to bring the real ones. So next time I will ask about GameStop and your stock and financial
thank
tips.
you so much.
Doggy.
Wrong show on the channel for that.
Market if you look at it.
Wrong show on the channel for that, Tushka. You know what show to put
Love
on
you,
that for.
Tushka. Love you so much.
Love you.
Hey,
Yeah.
much love, y'all.
Have a good one,
Hey,
man.
by the way, in this season 8 of War, let's unite, right? And then we're trying with that uniting by bringing you guys into the fold as far as Outlaw Nation. So as a Patreon, thank you guys so much for being a part of it. Looking forward to annoying you guys at the very end of each of your casts. But yeah, much love. Peace. Stay strong.
Cheers, brother. We appreciate you. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
He's smarter than he looks.
Whoa.
He's wearing a Chiefs shirt, too.
Wow,
I mean, we can get to the
right
Chiefs
at the end
conversation
there.
later.
My goodness.
I don't know what you meant by that, Boggs.
Before we get up to war.
Yeah, he's
Season
putting up
4.
his fist in the background back there, Boggs. I don't know. Next time he comes back on, he might have some
Have you
choice
seen
words
Winston
for you.
go after OKC and his response there? Or is that where you want to go with this?
No, just noticed that. Just as he was leaving, I thought, he's actually a bit smarter than he looks. So, yeah, anyway.
So before we start wrapping up,
people.
let's let NerdChronic get out of here. He was been so gracious to spend this whole amount of time with us. So NerdChronic, please plug away everything that you're working on. Just and final thoughts of anything you want to say.
You can find me at NerdChronic across all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm just primarily editing for the movie Trivia Schmoedown these days, which we're getting ready for War, as you all know it. Our big event coming up this month, or next month actually, is in February, is the Laura Kelly versus Molly Damon match, and then followed by the Chandru Jantwani versus Mark Knopik match for the title. Just 2 big matches to kick off the season. And you can also find me every Monday and Thursday on Video Drew's channel. I do a show with her called Video Chronic Pop Culture Quiz, where it's like a trivia show, but basically just like more like a quiz show, because like we do it on one specific film or one franchise, and like we'll just take like the other last Monday we did a 20-question quiz on Twilight with the certain POV crew. And so we also do sometimes just like whether we take requests. Video Drew has like a Patreon tier to like request movies if you want to get it done. And so yeah, it's a very fun thing. If you guys ever want to hop on, like send me a message about a movie that you feel confident that you could take each other on in. Like, and
Have you done the Mighty Ducks?
I've not done Mighty Ducks.
I'll do all 3.
Yeah, if you want to do a Mighty Ducks quiz, I could probably do a Mighty
I will
Ducks
do
quiz.
all 3.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Let me know. And I'd be happy to have you guys on anytime. And that's pretty much where you can find me these days.
I'm still a little. Thanks. Also, I feel a little bit bad about the Coming to America quiz. I still got that one question wrong. I'm still kicking myself in the butt about it. So I want Peggy. I want you in a rematch. NerdChronic, please make it happen. If you want to combine it with the first and second one, once the second one comes out, I'm totally down for that. So, thanks NerdChronic again for coming on the show. The door is always welcome if you want to come back and talk Schmoedown. Whenever you want.
I'm just working. You know how I am. But if you guys ever want me back on, like, just say the word.
Fantastic,
so
man.
much.
Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. And we're going to close out this episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. We're going to throw it around the horn. He was the last to show up, but he's the first to tell us goodbye. How do we say goodbye to one John Barr?
We say it like this. Goodbye. We say it like that with a
You
little
are
bit
the
too
weakest link.
much heat on it. Please be sure to check out every upcoming episode that we do of this dang show. Like this video. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else you want us to do. And most importantly, follow at Eric W. Barnes on Twitter. Because the fact that we're going into Season 8 War without the War Father is a whole soapbox I'll get on another gosh danged time, but that's it from me.
Fantastic. Throwing it over to my favorite Floridian. Seriously,
No,
Boggs, you know what you do. You know exactly what you do.
You want to ask him a little bit. You know, you insult him a little bit. You're a little out of order yourself.
Yeah, really. This is.
I guess we're talking about my favorite sheriff. My favorite sheriff of Nottingham is my new nickname for him. Is Boggs. Where can the fine folks find you?
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here. You know, it's a big show for us moving over to the Outlaw Nation, and you guys are all great. Everyone watching in the chat, everyone coming in. NerdChronic, second time he's been on our show. Love having him here. But yeah, I think next week, I think we missed it. It's a bit of a long show today, but I think maybe we should bring people in afterwards. People from the chat. Last kind of couple of minutes. It'd be nice to go back and forth with them. But yeah, you can catch us obviously on John Roker's YouTube channel now every Saturdays. It's going to fluctuate between 2 and 3, mostly 3 o'clock PST. And obviously catch us. We do our reaction stuff, movie reviews, that kind of thing on the Pop Culture Universe. Check that out on YouTube, Pop Culture Universe. If you want to see us guys talking about other stuff apart from Schmoedown.
Boggs,
Absolutely.
Boggs, you're in the UK, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with these Jammy Dodgers?
Jammy Dodgers, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course,
I went to the World Market here in Burbank and I grabbed some because I know them from Doctor Who.
Jammy Dodgers?
Yeah.
So I just tried them. I just tried them today for the first time.
It's like a national.
Do you live in actual
treasure.
Mary Poppins world that you got actual food named
It's a little
Jammy
bit like
Dodgers?
that, yeah. So it's like a biscuit with like a jam, a jam filling, like a little bit like gelatine style.
Biscuit's a cookie, John.
A
Oh,
UK
sorry, do you
biscuit, not our Southern biscuits that we have here in the
I'm
US.
adding this to the list of John's soapboxes, I hope you know. It's number 1, Warfather. Number 2,
Well.
Jammy Dodgers.
Yes. Jammy.
Number
Jammy.
3,
They're very
Soul. Where can the fine folks of the internet find you?
You can find me at SoulGovin on Twitter, at soul.k.govin on Instagram. You can find me over at the Pop Culture Universe, just everywhere over there. Sometimes I'm a guest over with Colin and Boggs on We Have the High Ground. And then you can find Sean this upcoming Wednesday is going to be on Soul Talk with me over at the Media Sweaties Network. So go check that out.
I am?
Absolutely. And speaking of the
I'm just
man,
kidding.
it's Sean, the producer. What's up, bud? Where are you?
Yeah, you can also find me on the Pop Culture Universe channel. I also just joined Twitter for the first time, so it is what it is. You can follow me at my name, Sean Barreto. And yeah, just happy to have this show on the Outlaw Nation channel. And also, shout out, reach out to the Outlaw on Twitter and also thank him for bringing this show onto the channel. He didn't have to. He brought it up to us, so trying to help the show out. So shout out to him on Twitter or reach out to him on any social media that you follow him and just thank him for giving us this opportunity. Because again, he didn't have to, and just letting us do his run the show the way we see fit. He doesn't have any input on this at all. So please thank John Roker for this opportunity.
Thank you to the Outlaw. And yes, you can find me, Colin, at _C Morris, this little bit right here. And we will be back next week. Different time, same place, the Outlaw Nation. 1 hour later, 3 p.m. Pacific. Right here, you'll find us. The Ultimate Schmoedown Show, where we'll probably be getting a little more into this first-class league, breaking down the implications that has going forward and how big can this thing get. But all we know is that we're thankful for everybody who's been hanging out. We got over 100 likes on this video. That's absolutely phenomenal. We love it. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. This has been the inaugural episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
But before we go, let's tease really quick who we're going to have on next week.
And we wasted
Relax.
Alright, gang, take it from the top. All right, here's how I, John Barr, say goodbye. Goodbye!
Next week, we have confirmed to have on one of the managers of the faction. Swag, drip, Mr. Winston Marshall.
A. Marshall.
And-
Winston A. Marshall.
Oh, I apologize. Winston A. Marshall. So, also, we're working on confirming another manager. We haven't got 100% confirmation, so I don't want to say it yet, but we might have 2 managers on. Sorry? Yeah, that's it. That's me.
Police
I
again,
apologize. Yeah, something's happening. So, let's hurry up and leave that because this is getting annoying. So we definitely gonna have Winston on next week, and we're working on confirming another manager. So, join us for our most likely regular time, 3 p.m.
Worse than
Eastern.
the Game of Thrones season. Get us out of here, Sean.
All right.
This is it.
Now we can go.
Schmoedown Show.
Yeah.
This has been the inaugural episode of the Outlaw Nation. The official goodbye. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Are we continuing my bit where I just talk over the outro?